Rockville. Today is June 2nd, 2025, and we'll begin meeting 15-25. We're going to begin with our Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. As you know, we started a little bit earlier on our days where we're doing recognitions and proclamations. I'm excited to see the people in the room today, and I'm going to ask my colleagues to please join me down at the podium. I'd like to welcome, is Bill McLean here? Oh, hey, there you are. He is going to be sharing some exciting news about environmental awards that we have going on in the city, and also want to acknowledge the work of the Environment Commission. Thank you for your service as chair and for selecting these winners. Welcome.
Good evening. Thank you very much, Mayor Ashton. My name is Will McLean, and I'm the chair of the Environment Commission in Rockville. In 2003, the mayor and council established the Environmental Excellence Awards to acknowledge and bring community attention to the extraordinary accomplishments made by city residents, organizations, and businesses to enhance Rockville's environmental commitment and sustainability. Anyone can, at any time throughout the year, nominate an individual, organization, or business for these awards, and we strongly encourage you to go to our website and see the conditions and submit nominations anytime you want to. Joining us this evening is Jen Hawes, another member of the Rockville Environment Commission, which is tasked with receiving the nominations, reviewing the nominations, and selecting the awardees. We thank the mayor and council for recognizing our two award winners this evening. First, the Environment Commission recommends Ingleside at King Farm receive the Environmental Excellence Award for Outstanding Leadership in Environmental Practices for their residential compost program. And please welcome Dave Martinson, co-chair of the Ingleside at King Farm Green Team, to accept this award.
You can stay with us. Pardon me? Stay with us.
And I'll describe a little bit about Ingleside at King Farm's composting service. Ingleside at King Farm is a senior living community that embraces environmentally friendly practices. With encouragement from the volunteer green team, the dining department decided to participate in Montgomery County's composting pilot program for dining facilities. Maryland had previously required all non-restaurant food establishments with more than 1,000 pounds of food scraps per week to participate in food scrap collections. Once the dining program was up and running, the general manager of dining services at Ingleside at King Farm, Teddy DeMissi, decided to expand the program's outreach. He invited residents to join this program. The resident personal food scraps composting began in July 2024 with a group of 25 participants formed by members of the Green Team at Ingleside at King Farm and other interested residents. The Green Team provided each participant with a list of acceptable items and guidelines as how to collect and store the food scraps and other compostables until the collection time. Since Ingleside at King Farm Department offers only reusable or compostable containers for carryout, these are also available to be collected and composted. The resident food scrap collection was so popular that it soon expanded to 50 residents, and after 3 months, it was expanded to serve all community residents. Today, every Monday afternoon and Thursday morning for an hour, the residents are invited to bring their food scraps and compostable items to the collection area near the cafe kitchen. A volunteer resident monitor removes any contaminants prior to placing the scraps in the bin, and every week, in addition to the dining compost, the resident program collects approximately 300 pounds of food scraps and compostables, turning them back into soil. Ingleside at King Farm was nominated by Councilmember Barry Jackson. Thank you very much.
We can do the picture.
Afterwards?
Yeah.
Okay.
Stay.
You can stay up, we'll get a picture.
I don't bite. I promise.
I don't know. The Environment Commission recommends Dawn Saman receive the Carl Henn Environmental Excellence Award for Outstanding Individual Environmental Stewardship for her dedication to litter removal beautifying Twin Brooks neighborhood parks. Please welcome Dawn to accept the award. Dawn Saman has been picking up litter in the Twin Brook neighborhood for 18 years. Every day, she walks down the path that goes behind the Twin Brook Community Recreation Center to Rockcrest Park, picking up trash. Dawn recycles everything that she can and throws the rest away. The only days that she doesn't go out is when it's raining or snowing. Dawn has just received the Twin Brooker of the Year award from the Twin Brook Community Association for her efforts. Dawn has lived in the Rockville area her whole life. She's a self-proclaimed perfectionist, picking up even the smallest pieces of trash along her way. Her work preserves the homes of the animals that live in the area so that they too can thrive in our neighborhood. Dawn believes if one person from each part of our neighborhood did this work, we would have a much more beautiful place to live in Rockville. Due to her dedication, the Twin Brook neighborhood is cleaner and a safer place. Dawn was proudly nominated by myself, Jen Haas. And Dawn, here's your award.
We're going to take a picture. Come on.
You want to get in the middle? You're the, okay. You're the man and the woman of the hour.
Thank you. Fantastic. I agree. Everyone did that.
Yes. Hello again. Congratulations. Thank you. Yes. No, this is great.
It's
Never
wonderful.
expected this.
You should have 18 years.
Well, yes. It's about time, right?
Better late than never.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right.
All right. So I have the honor of reading the first proclamation today. Proclamation declaring June 6th, 2025 as Gun Violence Awareness Day, and June 6th through 8th, 2025 as Gun Violence Awareness Weekend. Reading proclamation declaring June 6, 2025 as Gun Violence Awareness Day and June 6th through 8th, 2025 as Gun Violence Awareness Weekend. Whereas, in the years 2021 through 2024, an average of 558 people died by homicide in Maryland and more than 1,175 are wounded by gun violence. And whereas, while homicides and gun violence are down significantly in Maryland compared to nationwide, guns are still the leading cause of death among children and teens every year. And we still need to work to eliminate gun violence and gun homicides across this country. And now, therefore, the mayor and council of the city of Rockville, Maryland, declared June 6th, 2025 as Gun Violence Awareness Day, June 6th through 8th, 2025 as Gun Violence Awareness Weekend, and June 2025 as National Gun Violence Awareness Month, and encourage all residents to support their local community's efforts to prevent the tragic effects of gun violence and to honor and value human lives. Madam Mayor, I move the proclamation.
Thank you. Councilman Valerian has seconded. All those in favor, please raise your hand and say aye.
Aye.
I will note that Maria Pakala from Moms Demand Action is here from our Maryland chapter. I welcome you to say a few words. And I also want to thank our Rockville City Police Department. We have created one of the signature programs for gun buyback here in the city of Rockville, and we have collected and melted about 1,000 guns, including ghost guns and assault rifles. We're glad to stand in partnership with you and appreciate all the work you're doing.
Dear Mayor Ashton and dear Council of the City of Rockville, we would like to thank you for issuing this proclamation today in honor of Wear Orange. By issuing this proclamation, you have made clear that you stand for a future free from gun violence for our community and for our children, and you stand for sanity, safety. We at Moms Demand Action appreciate your support for our cause. As you noted, 2024 was another deadly year of gun violence in America. And the first half of 2025 hasn't been any better. And we in Montgomery County have seen too many sad occurrences just in the first few months of the year. But as gun violence continues, so does our work to stop it. Over 4,000 Montgomery County and Rockville residents are active volunteers with Maryland Moms Demand Action. And we're not just moms. We're dads, we're grandparents, we're uncles, we're aunts. We are a grassroots movement working to prevent gun violence in America. We're nonpartisan, we're volunteer-based, and we're part of a wider network that includes Students Demand Action, Mayors Against Illegal Guns, and Everytown Survivor Network, which includes the survivors that your proclamation honors today. And we're all part of Everytown for Gun Safety, our umbrella organization. And we work at the federal, state, and local level, and we engage in advocacy, in legislative action. We support community partners that work with many of the people most impacted by gun violence. And we conduct public education, including on school safety, and we engage in electoral action. We're the largest gun violence prevention organization in the country with over 8 million supporters. And today we want to express our appreciation to you, Mayor and Council. We appreciate that this proclamation recognizes and supports those among us who've been affected directly by gun violence. We are strong, and together we will prevail. Thank you again for recognizing the Wear Orange movement and supporting our cause.
So upcoming in about a week, next week is going to be Men's Health Week, and then this month is Men's Health Month. Now, one might wonder, why are we just bringing this up? There tends to be sometimes within the male community the idea of machismo and not necessarily wanting to go to the doctor, not necessarily wanting to get health checks. It's critical. And as a simple example, one of my closest friends in the world just last summer was going to a regular doctor checkup, which we encourage all men and women to do. And it was only during that regular checkup that he discovered that he had cancer. And that one checkup literally gave him an additional 6 months of life that wouldn't have happened otherwise. And so it's just that important, and proud to be able to bring this proclamation to get the word out. Whereas, despite advances in medical technology and research, men's life expectancy continues to average 5 years or less than women, 5 years less than women's, with men of Native American and African American ethnic backgrounds having the lowest life expectancy overall. And whereas educating the public about the importance of a healthy lifestyle and early detection of male health issues will assist in reducing the number of deaths caused by detectable and preventable diseases. And now, therefore, the Mayor and Council of the City of Rockville, Maryland, do hereby proclaim June 9th through 15th Men's Health Week and June 2025 as Men's Health Month, and encourage the Rockville community to support increased awareness and the importance of a healthy lifestyle, regular exercise, and medical checkup for men and their families. Madam Mayor, I move the proclamation.
Thank you. Councilmember Jackson seconds. All those in favor, please raise your hand and say aye.
Aye. And I believe Craig Simino from our Rockville City Government is here to say a few words and accept the proclamation.
Thank you, Madam Mayor and council members, for this proclamation and recognizing Men's Health Month. In addition to what Councilmember said, a recent global study said that sickness and death were higher in men than women for 13 of the top 20 causes of injury and illness. Men face significant and unique health challenges. Many of these conditions lead to premature death, including cancers and heart disease. As a 5-year prostate cancer survivor, I know firsthand how early detection and health screening can contribute to better outcomes. Unfortunately, studies still show that men's outcomes are worse than women's because they shrug off medical care. Since my diagnosis, I have become a prostate cancer resource for fellow city employees, having spoken with 5 affected by prostate cancer. Therefore, I'm asking everyone to join me in becoming an influence on the men in your life, encouraging them to seek medical care, including preventative medical visits and screenings, because it can make a difference. Becoming a men's health care advocate for spouses, other family members, friends, and colleagues may result in earlier detection, better outcomes, or may even save a life. Thank you.
It is me. Good evening, everyone. I have the honor of moving the proclamation declaring June 14th Flag Day. Flag Day means 2 things in my mind when I hear about it. One is my grandfather, who was in the Army MAP service, and I remember I lived across the street from him, and I remember every Flag Day, he would go outside very early and put up the flag, which was always perfect corners, of course. And then the second, it was my parents' anniversary. And we used to joke that all my dad would have to do is look out the window to make sure that today was the anniversary. But Flag Day is absolutely, it is a very special day. And so this proclamation declares June 14th, 2025 as Flag Day in Rockville, and it's also the 250th anniversary of the Army as well. Whereas, by resolution of the Second Continental Congress, dated June 14th, 1777, the first official flag of the United States was adopted. And whereas, on June 14th, 2025, we celebrate the 250th anniversary of the United States Army, and we will pause to thank our dedicated military for their service on this special anniversary. And now, therefore, the Mayor and Council of the City of Rockville, Maryland, do hereby proclaim June 14th, 2025 as Flag Day, and also celebrate the 250th anniversary of the United States Army, and urge the Rockville community to pause at 7 p.m. on this date for the annual Pause for the Pledge, and recite with all Americans the Pledge of Allegiance to our flag and nation. Madam Mayor, I move the proclamation. Aye. And we do have quite a few folks in uniform, if they would like to come up and accept this proclamation. Thank you. From American Legion, Post 86, which I should know better and should have mentioned. I apologize. Does anybody want to say anything? Yeah.
Hi, we're here on behalf of the American Legion, Rockville, Post 86, and the Color Guard. We're happy to see that the mayor and council have honored Flag Day, a very important day. Flag is not just a piece of cloth. It is actually a symbol known around the world for America's strength, power, and our freedom. We just got done observing Memorial Day. We honored those who died protecting the flag and the country. So it's very important to keep in mind the flag is very important to everybody. And once again, I'd like to thank Mayor and Council.
Can you get Dr. Miles in the back? All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm going that way.
It is my honor to read the Juneteenth proclamation. Juneteenth is a day in which we celebrate freedom, justice, resilience. It's also a day that we reflect on the work that we also need to do, and there's a lot of work ahead of us, especially during this time. Whereas President Abraham Lincoln issued the Emancipation Proclamation on January 1st, 1863, declaring enslaved people in Confederate territory free, paving the way for the passing of the 13th Amendment, which formally abolished slavery in the United States of America. And whereas enforcement of the proclamation in the state of Texas didn't occur until June 19th, 1865. When Major General Gordon Granger led Union soldiers into Galveston, Texas to declare that all enslaved people were free. And now, therefore, the Mayor and Council of the City of Rockville, Maryland proclaim June 19th, 2025 as Juneteenth and encourage our whole community to use this day to appreciate the freedom for all, and to become more aware of the significance of the celebration in the African American history and in the heritage of our nation and city. Madam Mayor, I move the proclamation.
Moved and seconded by Councilmember Jackson. Please raise your hand and say aye.
Aye. And I believe we have Director Jean Booth to accept. Thank you.
Good evening, Mayor and Council, community and colleagues. I'm honored to accept this proclamation with recognition of the work that HRC Human Rights Commission has also done on this project, and on behalf of all who have carried the legacy of Juneteenth, ancestors, community members, educators, and everyday citizens who have kept the story alive. Juneteenth is not just a day in history, it's also a call to remember, to reflect, and in fact act. It's a reminder that the journey toward full equity and belonging is ongoing. Today is also an opportunity to recommit ourselves to building a future rooted in truth, freedom, and dignity for all. I want to thank the Council for recognizing this day as an investment in our shared future. I'm excited to be a part of Rockville's as we continue to tell the story, the full story of America, together with courage and care. Thank you very much.
And I'd also like to invite everyone to the Juneteenth event. The city is collaborating with Montgomery County on June 21st at the Black Rock Center in Germantown, and everyone is invited. It is also my honor to read the World Refugee Day proclamation. Whereas World Refugee Day is an annual commemoration adopted by the United Nations in 2000 to honor and raise awareness of refugees. And whereas more than 122.6 million displaced people have been forced from their homes worldwide, more than any time in recorded history, including over 30 million refugees around the world. And whereas World Refugee Week is dedicated to bringing people together, bridging divides, and offering support and resilience. And the 2025 theme is community as a superpower. And now, therefore, the Mayor and Council of Rockville, Maryland proclaim June 20th, 2025 as World Refugee Day, and June 16th through the 22nd, 2025, as World Refugee Week. Madam Mayor, I move the proclamation.
It's been moved. Councilman Bangarek seconds. All those in favor, please raise your hand and say aye.
Aye.
Dr. Miles is going to be reading the Caribbean American Heritage Month.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. It is my honor to read this commemoration signifying and highlighting Caribbean American Heritage Month. And it reads as follows. Whereas the commemoration of Caribbean American Heritage Month was initiated in 2004 by Dr. Claire Nelson and adopted by the U.S. House of Representatives in 2005 to recognize the significance of Caribbean people and their descendants, including our very own Madam Mayor, on the history and culture of the United States. The resolution passed the Senate in February 2006, and President H.W. Bush issued the proclamation in June 2006. Now, therefore, the Mayor and Council of the City of Rockville, Maryland, do hereby proclaim June 2025 as Caribbean American Heritage Month in the City of Rockville, and encourage all of the residents of the city to honor these cultural and historical bonds and be reminded that America's greatness lies in its diversity. With that, Madam Mayor, I move the proclamation.
Thank you. It's been moved. Yes. Councilmember Shaw seconds. All those in favor, please raise your hand and say aye. Aye. Thank you. We now have Althea Gray McKenzie. She represents the National Caribbean American Heritage Month Steering Committee. Thank you. Welcome.
Good evening, and thank you so much, Mayor Ashton and council members. I'm Althea Gray McKenzie and a lover of all things Caribbean. I just wanted to say that it's a pleasure to be here and an honor for the second time to receive the proclamation for the Caribbean American Heritage Month. Just wanted to share a few things that although I've been an advocate for Caribbean inclusion, and we've done so much within the Montgomery County Public Libraries, within the Montgomery County, I should call it the Montgomery County Council chambers for bringing forward Caribbean inclusion within advisory groups, as well as within places around the community where we can not only see the culture, but also share what we love about the culture. It's an honor. I just wanted to mention that there are several of us within Montgomery County that have raised a Caribbean flag high, and that would be Thea LaFond, who's a resident of Montgomery County. She won, she's an Olympian and won gold. I believe you might have heard of her as an athlete who does triple jump, as well as this year having Exonerate Garvey, so Honorable Marcus Messiah Garvey was honored, and that was something we'd been pushing for some time, as well as having some wonderful people right in the community. Dr. Anderson. Winston Anderson is one who was given the highest award by President Obama, and so he wears Montgomery County well. I just wanted to say that this is so important. In 2006, to have this proclamation, and then for 20 years in 2026, it would be an honor to come back and just share more about why we should have a Caribbean celebration in Rockville. Thank you so much. It's been a pleasure. Thank you again.
Oh, yes. Thank you. I see there, you may not see this at home, but we have some flags being raised here in council chambers. And I will note that Thea LaFond is from the great island of Dominica. And she is not only an Olympian, but she was a former teacher. Our teachers do amazing things. So I'm super excited about that. It is my tremendous honor to be able to proclaim June as LGBTQ plus Pride Month. And I want to also just say a huge thank you to the Human Rights Commission. We had a fabulous Pride celebration in the square on Sunday. I don't know how you guys are still even standing or sitting and awake, but they did so much work. And there was a real energy in the square. I hope that many people were able to get there. It was a pretty packed crowd. But if you weren't, mark your calendars for next year. We'll be celebrating every year. I also wanted to acknowledge that it is World Pride in the DMV. So the United States has been selected as the host. It travels all over the world, and it just so happens to be that we were selected as a region this year, and I'm incredibly proud of it. Why do we celebrate Pride Month? Because people matter, inclusion matters. So many populations have been targeted, and this is one that we have to not only be allies for, but to continue to uplift and not say we're just inclusive and diverse, but actually show that through our actions here in the city. So it is a tremendous honor to read this proclamation. Whereas the riots at Stonewall Inn, Manhattan, New York, in June of 1969, as recognized as the beginning of the modern day lesbian, gay, bisexual, and transgender queer plus civil rights movement. And whereas Rockville has a diverse LGBTQ plus community and is committed to supporting visibility, dignity, and equity for all people in the community. And now, therefore, the Mayor and Council of the City of Rockville proclaim June 2025 as Lesbian, Gay, Bisexual, Transgender, and Queer Pride Month. Someone please move the proclamation. Councilmember Valeri moves the proclamation. Councilmember Jackson seconds. All those in favor, please raise your hand and say aye. Thank you. I'd like to welcome up members of the Human Rights Commission. I know Rebecca Murphy will also be formally accepting and saying a few remarks. And I just also want to remind folks that it was not that long ago that people here in America were arrested for being who they are. And now we have a school named after a gay civil rights activist, Bayard Rustin. We've come a long way, and there's still much more to do.
Sorry, I lost my voice yesterday. The Human Rights Commission graciously accepts this proclamation in honor of Pride Month.
While Pride is celebrated for just 1 month, it should serve as a reminder to everyone here who identifies as lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, queer, or questioning, that the City of Rockville doesn't merely accept you for who you are. We have been, are, and will continue to be a community that embraces and celebrates you. This proclamation is a testament to the city's commitment that every individual, regardless of their sexual orientation or gender identity, deserves to live freely, authentically, and without fear.
So as we come together during this month of joyous celebration, let us reaffirm our dedication to creating a community where love triumphs over hate, where equity prevails over discrimination, and where every person feels safe and welcomed. And if I could just say too that, I think it's It's amazing too to recognize the history of Pride in the city of Rockville. Really, not too far from here, in 1993, the first Pride was held in Montgomery County in Rockville in Parkland Park. And, I think seeing today us being here, being able to accept this proclamation, we really, just on behalf of the Human Rights Commission, we really extend our gratitude to the mayor, to the city council for this proclamation and for the continued steadfast support for the LGBTQ plus community. And we really thank you for the proclamation. Thanks.
Thank you for building a community where we feel safe.
Oh, of course. You're good. Good to see you. We'll come around.
Nigel.
I know, Nigel's the star of the show.
I know, right?
Who's Nigel? You guys rock.
Thank you so much.
I just also want to take that was our last official proclamation, but there's one other organization. It's actually a school that is celebrating 70 years. Bell Elementary is now 70 years old this month. They'll be celebrating. We'll find a way to get something over to them, but I just wanted to acknowledge that in the month of June. Thank you all for watching. We're going to take a brief break through 6:30 and reconvene. Thank you. Good evening, Rockville. Today is still June 2nd, 2025, and we're reconvening meeting 15-25. We'll begin with agenda review. Ms. Sarah Taylor Farrell, do we have any changes to the agenda?
Madam Mayor and council members, we do not have any changes tonight. However, if you all want to discuss removing an item, this is the time to do so.
Excellent. Thank you very much. Colleagues, I just wanted to note we have Dr. Miles here joining us virtually. Councilmember Fulton is not able to join us today, and wanted to recommend that we move item 15 to next week. Mr. City Manager, can you confirm that if the body decides to move it, that you can accommodate it next week, Monday?
I don't want to say absolutely, but there's a very high probability that we can move it to next week.
So we'll plan for June 9th unless told otherwise. Colleagues, what do you think? All right, so do you need us to make a motion to move it, or can we? You're good? Yes, that's what I thought. Councilman Van Grack, could you just move for us to move this item?
Madam Mayor, I move for agenda item with regard to the Chapter 13 revisions to be moved to the next council meeting to the extent that it's appropriate. If not, then the meeting after that.
Would you accept one friendly amendment to say Chapter 15? You said 13.
Oh,
It's 15.
then I mean Chapter 15.
Thank you. Do we have a second? Councilman Valeri seconds. All those in favor, please raise your hand and say aye. Aye. Excellent. Thank you. All right. Now, our city manager has a report. Mr. Mihalik, welcome.
Mary Ashton, members of City Council, good evening. Just two things to report. First, I have very good news. The Public Works Equipment Show has been rescheduled. So we're going to be able to do it on Friday, June 13th at Maddie Stepanek Park from 10 to 3 p.m. I know that's very well received by the community. Just want to applaud our Public Works Department for finding a new date to plug that in. So hopefully, fingers crossed, we'll get some good weather. Then the other thing I want to point out, it is really been amazing how many events we've had in the city. Memorial Day Parade, hometown holidays, a very amazing Pride Day event, and the weather cooperated yesterday. I just want to call out all the hard work by Rec and Parks, DPW, Communications, Police Department, our Jedi office, all just working really hard overtime to provide amazing community events for our community. Just want to acknowledge that. That's all I have, Mayor. Thank you.
I'll just echo and say staff has done an incredible job. The events have been huge, well-attended, staff has been friendly and so supportive. I know my colleagues and I were just discussing how many great comments we've gotten from the community, how people have appreciated having hometown holidays back in Town Center, the Memorial Day Parade, Pride Festival, the King Farm filtering sessions. There's so many things that the team has been doing, and I just wanted to applaud and thank you all. Councilman Van Grack.
Madam Mayor, I just wanted to add, I know that in the wake of not only the attack on the Jewish community in Colorado yesterday, but the previous attack on the Jewish community that occurred at the Capitol Jewish Museum, I just want to commend the Rockville City Police Department for its commitment to elevating security in and around the Jewish community. I know that when I've contacted, and the chief of police and the chief has contacted the members of the body, they were on top of it even before we knew about it. And they were already making sure that there's going to be additional protection of the Jewish community. So not only do I want to extend my condolences to everybody affected by it, but assurance to the community that the Rockville Police Department is continuing to protect the Jewish community. And a thank you to the Rockville City Police Department for their continued commitment protecting the Jewish community and all communities in Rockville throughout the entire city.
Thank you. I just want to add on to that before I move on to Councilmember Jackson, to note that I have heard some people in the community feeling worried and unsafe. So I thank them for the extra patrols they're doing. But I also wanted to take a moment to recognize that Montgomery County has a hate bias portal. If you can Google hate bias Montgomery County portal, it's an opportunity for you to share information about what you're seeing. There is nothing that is too small to say something and see something. If you see something, say something. And so please continue to use that portal. Please also reach out to us if you ever need help. I know that this is a very hard time for so many communities, and just wanted to at least acknowledge that. Councilmember Jackson.
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you for those remarks and for Councilmember Van Grack's remarks as well. I just wanted to add my thanks to the city staff for really a wonderful weekend last weekend with hometown holidays and then Memorial Day ceremony and then the parade and then the work that the police did to keep us all safe, as well as the Rockville Volunteer Fire Department, which not only turned out big time for the parade, but then had a wonderful open house right down there, down the street. We actually took advantage of the big ladder at the end of the fire engine. The mayor actually talked me into going up it. So thank you, Mayor, for that.
It was just 100 feet, that's all.
Just 100 feet. But no, in seriousness, our staff really worked hard, and they deserve all the thanks we can give them because I know that it was a weekend, it was a Memorial Day weekend, and they worked really hard to pull off what I think was a fantastic celebration. So thank you.
Thank you. Dr. Miles.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I would like to thank my colleagues and city staff for recognizing the Kiwanis Club of Rockville's 75th anniversary. There was a joint celebration here in Rockville commemorating both Rockville Kiwanis' 75th anniversary as well as Bethesda Kiwanis Club 85th anniversary. So thanks so much for that, and thanks to the work of the Kiwanis to support kids throughout the globe. That's all.
Thank you so much. Councilmember Valeri.
I want to echo, and I'm in agreement with everything that my colleagues previously said, and they said it much better than I can. I'm going to pivot slightly. Now that we are in a time where storms are coming fast and furious, this is more important than ever to make sure that your trees are trimmed and debris is free, your yards are free from debris. We do know that the intensity of storms is increasing and has increased. And we also know how deadly even a thunderstorm can be in certain low-lying parts of our city. So if you need help or you think it might be a city tree, reach out to the city. We provide resources to be able to help and identify if your tree is city tree, but if everybody takes a moment to look around their yard, it means that a lot of people will be safer this storm season.
Thank you. I just wanted to acknowledge a couple of quick events that are coming up that are important. One is if you want to share your opinion on our election code, it is important to hear your voice. We'll have sessions on June 5th and June 7th. You can go to City of Rockville and look at our calendar to find out more about that. If you think we should have more polling sites or drop-off centers, whatever you think, we would like to hear what your perspective is. So please come out to that. There's a senior housing expo on Friday. And also, as my colleague mentioned, there are Juneteenth celebrations around the county at June 21st at Juneteenth Black Rock. And then also, feel free to visit the square. There are a summer concert series and a bunch of events coming up as well. So please enjoy Rockville. Okay. All right, so now we'll be moving on to community forum. This is a time to share your thoughts, your ideas, and concerns. All persons addressing the mayor and council shall speak in a civil and courteous manner, and we ask that you be respectful to others. Each person is allowed 3 minutes, and we ask that you stick to that. There is a time clock in front of you. There will be an audible beep at the end of your time, and we appreciate you coming forward. So there's a young lady who we met at Pride Festival, and she has since come in to share her thoughts. She's looking ahead to Independence Day coming up in July. Welcome, Gwen Rifle.
Other side. Honey. Honey, stand up. I don't know which way she should go.
Hello, my name is Gwen Riffle and I'm 10 years old. Thank you all for being here today and taking your time to listen to me. This is my speech for Independence Day. If it weren't for people like Ben Franklin, John Hancock, John Adams, and Samuel Adams, we would still be under British rule. But on July 4th, 1776, we became the United States of America. This all started with lots of debt from the 7-Year War and taxes. On and on, Parliament went with taxes, which are now the intolerable acts. We were over it and claimed independence. When the fireworks boom and the band sing their songs and we sing the national anthem in patriotic voices, this year's 4th of July is the 249th Independence Day. Thank you.
Well done, thank you. We also have a virtual speaker. Is there anyone in the room who wants to speak before our virtual speaker? Okay. Welcome, Ricky Moy.
I'm representing Evening, Mayor and Council. I'm Rick Moy. I'm representing the Human Services Advisory Commission. Deborah Moore should be online.
All right.
Is Deborah online?
Deborah, if you are there, you are welcome to speak.
Hello, am I off mute now?
We can hear you. Please proceed.
All right.
Thank you.
Well, good evening, everybody. My name is Deborah Moore. I'm one of 2 consumer representatives on the Human Services Advisory Commission, and I'm honored to represent the commission to thank you. On behalf of our commission, we would like to thank the mayor and council for their continued demonstration of strong support for caregiving organizations in the FY 2026 budget just adopted. Advocacy, support, and financing for these agencies has always been important, but at this time, demonstration of that support is not only crucial, but valiant. These organizations are the vanguard wall for many that stand between a viable quality of life and one that is less than that. This advocacy not only is rooted in treating the challenges, but also supporting avenues of prevention. As one example, funding for the Rockville Emergency Assistance Program, REAP, provides direct financial resources to help Rockville residents avoid eviction or utility termination or obtain needed medications or medical procedures. Continuing this record robustly not only upholds the long-standing support this body has always provided to these organizations, but also sends a powerful message that any attempts to stifle or curtail their support will not succeed in our community. Again, we wish to thank wholeheartedly the mayor and the council for your budget allocations to caregivers serving Rockville, and for your unrelenting dedication to keep these organizations and our community strong. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who would like to speak? I would like to thank all of our speakers and those who have also submitted in advance. We did receive at least one comment in writing. We'll now move on to our consent agenda item. We have approve and authorize the city manager to execute fiscal year 2026 agreements that extend resident community performing arts organization status to Rockville Little Theater, Rockville Musical Theater, and Victorian Lyric Opera Company to enable these community organizations to provide performances at the F. Scott Fitzgerald Theater and Social Hall. And we have 9B, approval of minutes. I believe that is for May 5th. Colleagues, would you like to take these together, or do you have any comments or questions? Councilman Valeri.
Madam Mayor, I would like to pull item A for discussion.
Okay, since there's only two, why don't we move forward with discussing and then we can approve both together? Is that okay?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, all right.
Whatever works
Please
for everyone.
proceed.
My question in reading this item on the consent agenda, and perhaps our city manager can explain to me a bit, why is Rockville Ballet not yet a RESCO? And is that something that is on the horizon for consideration?
I don't know the answer to that question. I'll have to circle back.
Okay, I think that would be really helpful. They are, I think, as much a part of the city's performing arts community as these other wonderful entities. So I would be interested in knowing that. Beyond that, I have no problem with this consent item.
Thank you. I believe there's something to do with the paid use and offsetting the storage costs at the Fitzgerald Theater, whereas the ballet is able to store some things at Rockcrest. So, but if the city manager can get back to us. Mm-hmm. Excellent. Thank you. Colleagues, do we have a motion to approve these two agenda items? Councilmember Shaw.
I move to approve consent agenda items A and B.
Do we have a second? Councilman Van Grack seconds. All those in favor, please raise your hand and say aye. Aye. Excellent. Thank you very much. Okay. We'll now move on to our agenda item 11A, introduction and possible adoption of an ordinance to amend ordinance number 04-25 to appropriate funds and levy taxes for FY25, budget amendment number 4. Welcome Mary Sue Martin, as well as Stacy Webster and Kim Francisco.
Thank you. Good evening, Madam Mayor and members of the council. This is the fourth budget amendment for FY25. This amendment primarily covers administrative adjustments needed to accommodate the fiscal year end, recording of long-term leases, subscription-based IT arrangements, and depreciation. In addition to those administrative items, this amendment includes increased program revenue for the Swim and Fitness Center, along with increased funding for temporary employees there, an $80,000 general fund transfer to REAP to support senior affordable housing tenants, overfill authorization for 2 police officer positions, required arbitrage liability payments in the water, sewer, and stormwater management funds, additional funds to accommodate a reconciliation adjustment for the city's share of operating costs at the Blue Plains wastewater treatment plant, and additional funding required to accommodate updated construction support requirements and construction contingency for the water treatment plant safety improvement CIP project. If this amendment is adopted, the total appropriated by fund would change as shown on the budget ordinance in your attachment 1. And tonight, staff recommends that the mayor and council introduce the ordinance, waive the layover period, and adopt the ordinance. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Colleagues, any questions? Councilman Valeri.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I am not, I'm not as familiar with the arbitrage liability payments, and seems to be, well, it is a not insignificant amount. Can either our wonderful finance staff or Mr. City Manager explain a little bit about how this came to be for this year, and then a little bit more about the plan to accelerate the contract execution to mitigate this going forward?
Thank you for the question. Arbitrage really simply is you're really not supposed to be able to use the people's money to borrow money, generate interest, and keep the interest. So the IRS is basically saying, you haven't turned around these funds quickly enough, you're gaining interest, we have to give that interest back. That's what this budget amendment's going to do. Let me stress that we are not out of pocket on this. This isn't money we're taking away from the general fund or any other program. We're just taking those interest proceeds and giving them back to IRS. That's the answer to one of the questions. The second one is those bonds were sold a couple of years ago. Since that time, we've had a couple of challenges. One is really staffing of some civil engineering positions. We've been able to staff up in a number of areas in the city, but a couple of those project managers, civil engineering positions have been particularly difficult to fill. So we're going to be changing the way we advertise for those positions, hopefully get those filled as soon as we can. That's number one. Number two, I've talked to the Public Works Department. I've encouraged them to use private resources to do some of those projects if we need to, if we can't fill those positions. And then lastly, we're going to take a deeper dive in procurement to make sure that's not slowing us down. All three of those approaches should be able to make these projects go forward so we won't have this issue again in the future.
Thank you. Is it possible for us to just get an update on those so that we don't hear about them through budget amendments?
Happy to do that.
Excellent. Thank you so much. And then just to clarify, there's no penalty fees for that, correct? This is all just paying back the interest.
That's correct. It's just really returning those excess investment proceeds.
Excellent. Thank you. I look forward to the plan that you have to bring this forward. Councilmember Shaw.
I wanted to first thank staff for the equity analysis and impact statement that's in this part of the agenda. I did have a question about Bethany House. I know the first time I remember being alerted of Bethany House, there were some issues around the conditions. I think later on it was, we discovered there were some issues around rent. And could you just share some more details on that? And recognizing that rental assistance issues sometimes can be more prolonged than just one payment or just emergency assistance. Is there a plan to ensure that the residents there can continue to pay rent following this assistance?
Yep, happy to address that. So Councilmember Shaw, you're spot on. There have been folks in the Bethany House that have been in arrears of their payments for quite a long time. Candidly, the owners, the board of directors have been very kind to folks and letting them hang on for a while. But now some of the arrears are to such a point that we're either talking about evictions of some of those folks, which would be bad, or actually even changing over ownership and maybe even the loss of that entire affordable housing. That's worst case scenario. So I want to give credit to Ryan Trout and his team to come up with what we think is a very elegant solution. And that simply is to use our REAP proceeds to buy down the arrears of some of those payments, reset that down to zero, and then to make sure that the tenants know moving forward they have to keep current. It also helps us with the property maintenance issues that you're talking about, because part of this agreement is to make sure that not only people are paying their rent, but then the management company can use some of those proceeds to invest more in the property. It's a bit of a perfect storm. Lack of rent, lack of maintenance, and then the opportunity to flip it in the wrong way. I also want to point out that this is a partnership between the city, the county, and the owners of Bethany House. So again, we think it's an excellent solution moving forward. The goal with the tenants regarding their payments is just to be, candidly, just a little bit more creative in how we make sure that the management company makes sure when the tenants are getting behind and be really clear when those payments are due so they don't get in the unfortunate circumstance that they're in right now.
Thank you. I know this is a property I've been tracking for a couple of years, and I believe the city also has given community development block grant funds to help them replace carpet to do some things. I will note that the board has been, it's a group of folks who have faith-based background who came together to try to support affordable senior housing, and the rents are very, very low. And they're trying to be good stewards and try to do the right thing, but it's been difficult on the property maintenance side, which then contributes to quality of life for residents issues. I do remember that there was some discussion about potentially that property, because they couldn't maintain with not collecting the rents, potentially selling it. Do we have an update on that?
We do. There's still a chance, and I want to be careful too, but there's still a good chance it's going to be sold. But part of the understanding of us using REAP funds is that if the property is sold, it's going to be sold to a bona fide affordable apartment dwelling owner developer. So to make sure that it stays permanently affordable.
Thank you.
Yep.
There are so many seniors who live in that building, and we want to make sure we're protecting them. The other component is just, this is separate from budget, but just making sure that we're going in with wraparound services, so the comments of my colleague, to make sure that we're helping people be able to contribute and pay those rents in the future.
Yep, always. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Valeri.
Sorry, I remembered my second question here. Just to be clear, both for us and for the listening public, we are expecting at least perhaps one more budget amendment after this one, correct? Like after July 1st? If there needs to be any sort of adjustment made to police pay?
That would affect FY26, so you would be
Yeah,
expecting
you're right,
an
you're
amendment
right.
in FY26.
Gotcha. Okay, cool. Thank you. I always get confused by that. Okay, cool. I just want to make sure, because we are on budget amendment number 4, but it's for the previous one. Okay.
Thank you. Mr. Mihalik.
Thank you, Mayor. Councilmember Valeri, we're going to wait till July 1st when all the other jurisdictions around us have posted their budgets. Then we'll look into the salaries, we'll do a salary survey of our competitors to make sure that our police officers are being paid a competitive wage relative to others. If it's not, then I would likely come back, recommend a modification through a budget amendment, but we don't think we're going to need to get there, candidly. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you very much. I know that review may be happening around July, August, so we appreciate you doing that. I did have one question about, we recently talked about the mental health specialist MOU. I just want to make sure, are we set? Do we need any budget amendments as that person actively continue to be able to working right now?
No gap in service. We don't anticipate a budget amendment at this time.
Okay. Councilman Van Grack.
So, and just to clarify, I know we're talking about the evaluation of the police department pay coming up in July, but this budget amendment affords 2 additional police officers salaries to go above potential capacity than what we had previously. And I presume that would also apply to the next fiscal year as well.
That's correct.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you. I noted you put that it's going to carry going forward. Yes. Councilman Valeri.
Thank you, and thank you to my colleagues as well. Clearly, everybody is sensing where our brain is at right now as far as what we need to adjust. And I know that we're also going to look at any necessary adjustments given the current federal climate as well. But to go back very quickly to the mental health specialist, because I know that was one of the issues that came up during our budget discussion, where we wanted to look at the possibility of bringing in a second mental health specialist, acknowledging things like burnout and honestly overnight need. It's very hard to do both day and night. But we know it's tricky because it is a co-funded position with the county. And I know that Mr. City Manager and I have discussed this before, but is there any thought to, the MOU for the current mental health specialist? Is there any thought to, looking at the addition of a second and what those costs would be? Because our current mental health specialist is truly needed because we don't have the victim rights position that was eliminated. So our current mental health specialist is not only doing mental health calls, but also doing victims' right advocacy. So I would be interested to know a little bit more about that, because if we are going to look at police after July 1st, then it may make sense at that point to look at where we are budgetarily on the mental health specialist, because the position is that important.
Thank you, Mr. Mihalik.
Thank you for those questions. I do remember those conversations during the budget work session. My commitment to you is still the same. We wanted to make sure that we are making good decisions at the command staff level, the police department. Here's a cliffhanger for you. I'm really close to making that decision. And then once those are in place, let those folks get settled in. And then my commitment is to do a study with the police department on what are all different options we could to provide mental health services. I can tell you, having had those programs in 2 other jurisdictions that I represented, that it's best to have more than one person in that position. It's just how do you fund it and how do you provide coverage for all the different shifts when we have a mental health crisis in our community. That's not going to happen in June or July. It'll be a little bit later, but it's something we'll look at this summer for sure. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilman Valeri.
Yeah, I guess I'm confused because I believe that currently our mental health specialist is not working for the city right now, but is instead back at the crisis center, which concerns me because that means that we currently do not have a mental health specialist embedded. So I think that's where my confusion here is, in terms of where we are with the county MOU and whether or not there is a gap in services, because it appears that this is what is occurring.
Understood. You're correct that they are no longer embedded at the police department. They are at a different facility, but we still have the ability to call for service and get that service provided to us through the MOU.
Can you explain why they're no longer embedded?
I can't explain that right now. I can circle back though.
Okay, I think it would be helpful for the public as well to put that on the record.
Okay.
Thank you. I think all of us would love to hear that update whenever you have a chance, because I know that part of the role is also to provide mental health support for our officers. And we want to make sure that we're supporting our police department as well.
Understood.
Thank you. Okay. I'm seeing no other questions on this topic. Thank you. Do you have anything else you'd like to add?
No, Madam Mayor.
I will just take a quick moment to say thank you to our finance department. There are a lot of jurisdictions who are not in the same place that we are in, and we thank you for keeping us afloat, but also thinking ahead with our reserve and strong financial planning. So excellent work by all of you. Thank you. Councilman Van Grack.
Madam Mayor, I introduce the ordinance to amend Ordinance 04-25 to appropriate funds and levy taxes for FY 2025.
Thank you. Do we have a motion to waive the layover period? Councilmember Jackson.
I'll move to waive the layover period, please.
Thank you. Do we have a second? Excellent. Councilman Valeri seconds. All those in favor, please raise your hand and say aye.
Aye.
Okay, excellent. Do we have a motion to adopt? You can do that. Councilman Valeri.
Yes, Madam Mayor, I move to adopt. Let me scroll up to the top. Thank you, ma'am. I move to adopt the ordinance to amend Ordinance 04-25 to appropriate funds and levy taxes for FY 2025.
Do we have a second? Councilmember Shaw seconds. All those in favor, please raise your hand and say aye.
Aye.
Excellent. All right. Well done. We appreciate you. Take care. Okay. I will just note for the listening public, if you go to City of Rockville budget, you can see our quarterly reports. They do report and give updates, and you can take a look at all the amendments that were made. All right, so we have decided to move item 11B on personnel. We'll take that up hopefully next week. We're now moving on to our work session on green building regulations. Item A, welcome Chris Dempwolf, and also as panelists, Ricky Barker and Keena Campbell.
All right, good evening, Madam Mayor, members of council. Thanks for taking the time to work through the green building regulations with us tonight. It's actually just about a year since we went through some major changes to our building codes. And I'm glad to be back here with this exciting content here for you tonight. My presentations are a little shorter than last year too, so. All right, so we'll go through why we're here and touch on our previous Energy Conservation Code amendments. Then go through the proposed changes, looking at Article 14 of Chapter 5 of the City Code from a high-level view, and then down into the model codes that are being adopted into it, the International Green Construction Code and the National Green Building Standard. Follow up that with our expected outcomes, and then circle back to see if you support the proposed changes, and then highlight our next steps. So the purpose of these green regulation amendments is really to remain a leader in sustainability and resiliency, support the city's climate action plan, enhance the sustainable building stock within the city, and build on our success with local amendments to the Energy Conservation Code. On that point, I just want to highlight again that during our large group of amendments that we had last year, y'all voted for some really progressive amendments to the Energy Conservation Code. So we did a lot of the heavy lifting at that point. And really, we're at a point now where our energy code actually accomplishes what other jurisdictions need the green code to do. So it's really, like I said, just very progressive amendments. And it also has a broader reach than Article 14 had. These amendments did include the requirements for EV charging infrastructure, solar ready and electrification ready for all new construction, and a lot of alterations and additions as well. We were so progressive, in fact, that many sections of the International Green Construction Code, as I've been going through it, we actually have to kind of bump up the requirements a little bit just to meet our local amendments to the Energy Conservation Code. So that actually has been a very exciting exercise to go through and see just how much further we pushed that. So we'll get into the high-level view of the proposed changes here. Right now, in Article 14, we have scoping as well as definitions located within the body of the article. The 2021 International Green Construction Code and 2020 National Green Building Standard are much more robust than the prior editions that we currently have adopted, and include scoping provisions and definitions. So these items really have no need to remain in the body of Article 14. One of the main changes that we are recommending is that third-party green verification be required for all new structures. That gives you the certification that the building has actually met those national standards, and it stays, with the owner of the property moving forward. Looking at the International Green Construction Code, which is for our non-residential and multifamily residential mid-rise and up, so that's more than 4 stories. The significant changes we're proposing in there, the majority of Chapter 5, which deals with site conditions, is actually deleted because most of those things are addressed elsewhere in our city code. Whether it's in the zoning ordinance, our stormwater, or forest and tree preservation, those items are all addressed elsewhere in the city code. We're looking at Section 701.3.2, mandates on-site solar installations. Now, we already have the requirement for solar ready in the Energy Conservation Code. This takes it a step further to mandate on-site solar installations. However, we want to make sure that we incentivize both on-site and off-site. There are a lot of the community solar projects and such And so we're proposing some modifications that allow a little bit of flexibility with that for both on-site and off-site renewable energy sources. We are also looking at adding EV charging infrastructure that goes a step above what we already have in the Energy Conservation Code. And we used Montgomery County's amendments as sort of a baseline for some of the things in there, but then they actually are not requiring any EV charging to be installed per the Green Code. We're going to build on the requirements in the Energy Conservation Code and require a little bit more. Now, this is for new structures. And those are the main changes I wanted to highlight in the International Green Construction Code. The National Green Building Standard, which deals with our 1 and 2 family dwellings and low-rise multifamily residential. As we are recommending requiring third-party verification, we are also suggesting minimal amendments to the National Green Building Standard. Primarily, it's set up a little different than the International Green Construction Code in that it is more of an elective kind of scoring model. And when you start playing with the point system in there, it can really throw off the scoring, especially if you're trying to score it against a national standard. We are, however, going to reference applicable city codes and ordinances to make sure there's no conflicting requirements. So our expected outcomes from updates to Article 14, more energy efficient buildings, sustainable and resilient housing that is NGBS verified, incentivizing adaptive reuse and life cycle planning for buildings, expanded renewable energy use, and then our 2 key climate action plan items, strengthened green building code for new construction and requirements for new developments to be EV ready and actually above EV ready. So our question for you is, do you support moving forward to adopt the amendments to Article 14 as proposed, including amendments to the International Green Construction Code and the National Green Building Standard? And then our next steps, with your support, staff will finalize draft language of the proposed amendments. Much like we did with the prior code amendments, we will seek feedback from stakeholders and then submit the amendments for adoption, and upon adoption, begin implementation, which we did receive a question on, and I think we're recommending a 6-month implementation period to account for projects that are already in the pipeline. But we will work on that implementation and include outreach to the customers to notify them of the changes. And that's all I have in my presentation.
I just want to say thank you so much. Rockville continues to work on our sustainability efforts, both in our new projects as well as our city doing our own work. I did see Dr. Miles has a quick question. So I'll go to him first, and then I have a few questions as well. Dr. Miles.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I echo my thanks to city staff for this and all the hard work that has gotten us to this point. I will start by saying a couple statements in a question. The question that you asked of us is whether or not we support moving forward to adopt the amendments to Article 14 as proposed. I do. We can certainly, and I look forward to the discussion of my colleagues on this. I am excited, and I thank staff for replying with regard to the implementation timeline. It sounds like it would be 6 months, and this would, build off of, as was noted in the presentation, the language regarding as it affects new construction, making things electric ready, things that were implemented from our April 29th, 2024 meeting, went into effect May 29th, 2024. So again, I support it. I look forward to the discussion. Great job. That's all.
Thank you. I just had a reflection point of first of all, I'm super excited. I know we were waiting for what happened last April, and we were so excited for it to happen. My question is, are there any lessons learned from what we did in April that we should consider for this process?
So one of the main lessons, I think, was more process-oriented. If you'll recall, last April, we were kind of up against a deadline and trying to move things to meet that deadline. And so, we responded by, we will be starting the 2024 code cycle review this fall and have a pretty decent plan for that. And we're not anticipating having to bring the green building amendments separately. We've had good success with the energy conservation code amendments, so we really haven't had any hard lessons learned there or anything. People seem to accept it and have started incorporating it in their design.
Excellent, thank you. I will just note, we learned from the Climate Action Plan and all the work that we've done over the years, our biggest sources of greenhouse gas emissions are buildings as well as our cars and transportation. So appreciate the broad look that we took last April and then what we're doing now. One of the potential lessons learned that I was thinking of is the implementation timeline was kind of short. Of course, I would have loved to do this even shorter. However, there were two things that happened, maybe inadvertent consequences that I just want us to think through. One is people have financed certain projects, and so thinking through, does it, in this climate with some of the issues with tariffs as well as just the additional costs with financing, we may have to just be reflective of that the new situation that we're in, and some people are just delaying projects altogether. So I want to make sure that we don't inadvertently have that kind of issue, and we're thinking about housing. Mr. Mihaly, did you want to say something? Okay. So that's the 6-month timeline is one that gives me pause because projects are already financed, and I just worry about that. The other inadvertent consequence was people were trying to, because of financing, get in before the 6 month, and so there were a flood of applications that went into the planning department, and permits became way behind permitting process. So we created that for ourselves, and so I don't know if that means you have to staff up to meet that deadline, but it's just those were two lessons learned for me, thinking through how do we consider that approach so that we can get what we want to get on sustainability, but also think about projects that are in motion as well as the staffing levels that you all have.
Certainly, and I will note that the flood of permit activity that we got was to meet the state deadline, and that was something that developers had over a year of awareness on, and it just ended up that people were waiting till the last minute to try and see if they could get stuff submitted.
Right, so that they had even more of a lead time, and still things were flooding. So I wanted to note 6 months might be tough.
Understood.
So those were important. And then in terms of the third-party verification, can you share more information about that? There was something that came up on the county procurement and trying to get sort of, some people were trying to get certain types of certifications, and the process took a long time. How is that process? Is that going to be challenging? What are some of the things we need to better understand about that?
So that's something that we are going to have to look a little closer at, a little further into, and really get a full picture of, especially the timeline for those sorts of things. What I can tell you is that it is all based on national standard, particularly for the National Green Building Standard. The Home Innovations Labs is who we've seen used and who we've worked with in the past, actually. And they have accreditation for their third-party verifiers. They have a network of third-party verifiers. And one of the key things we would want to make sure that we don't hold up certificate of occupancy with the verification process. So we're being, I guess, we're aware of that, and that will be reflected in the proposed language for that section.
Okay, I think we just, when this comes before us again, I would like to understand what is that life cycle journey so that we make sure that we don't, again, have property sitting and people can't move into them. So that would be very helpful. And then I know that the city needs to do our own job on our own solar, so I just will put a plug there, as well as doing things like solar app so that we make the process quicker and easier for people who are applying. So I just wanted to note that the city has some homework to do to get ready and support our green goals as well. I will pause there. And this is going before Environment Commission, correct?
Yes, once the amendments are, the draft language is completed, it will go before the Environment Commission.
Okay, we have incredible talent on the commission, so I'm looking forward to their expert feedback as well. Councilman Van Grack.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, and thank you. This is really fantastic, and it really focuses on some of the goals that we have, especially not only with climate action, but also what we're looking to do as a city. The one question I did have, though, as much as this really does focus in on the goals that I know this entire body has talked about with regard to green building and the climate action, to what extent, because we also at the same time have some incredibly, how can I say, high achieving housing goals for the city overall. To what extent, if we go forward with the recommendations as you're proposing here, is it potentially a concern with regard to some surrounding jurisdictions and what they have? And is there a potential competitive issue that we have, or is that a non-issue compared to the surrounding jurisdictions?
I don't believe it's going to be an issue with surrounding jurisdictions. We've looked at our closest neighbors to see, what kind of amendments they've proposed, and that kind of was one of the benefits of waiting on this. And we're trying to match as closely as we can, but also still, push a little bit and be a little progressive. I really would like to see us be leaders in this field, and it's something that we try and balance so that we're not so far out ahead of the other jurisdictions that we drive people, away.
Okay, so you see that this is continuing further our goals without creating any competitive disadvantage with future building?
I would agree with that, yes.
Okay, perfect, thank you.
Councilman Valeri.
Thank you. I know this is a lot of work, and I'm really appreciative of the work that has been done and the path forward and how we'll do other things. So am I correct that what we're looking at right now with the green building standard is solely energy, or are we looking beyond that? Because we're talking a lot about EV and we're talking a lot about solar. But going beyond that, as far as it relates to the code, are there other areas that we should be looking at that would also be complementary to the climate action plan?
So the code, both the International Green Construction Code and the National Green Building Standard, don't just address energy. They're also water sustainability, as well as sealing, air sealing of buildings, our window glazing. It really encompasses the entirety of the building, interior environmental quality, as well as sound transmission. There's a lot more than just energy in these codes.
Okay, that's helpful. I guess because our conversation has mostly been focused on that, but I know that there are other things that have either been discussed in passing when it comes to certain developments. Are there other things that we as a body should be looking at? I know that, the taller a building gets, the more likely that, protective elements should be looked at to ensure the safety of things like birds, a lot of which are migratory around here, making them less reflective, maybe putting a physical barrier. There are also other things such as, what other options for roofs would be, yet if they don't already have solar, which I know Madam Mayor would hope that they would all have solar, but maybe if they don't, we've seen some great examples in the city of people who have installed green roofs and pollinator gardens and stuff like that. So I was just trying to wrap my brain around, where those sort of aspects of, being a green building would kind of fit into this discussion.
Certainly, and I will say that things such as vegetated roofing systems are covered in the codes, and usually it's a matter of how many points are awarded for, which options you select.
Okay, I'm really thankful for your explanation on this, and I definitely would want to give a plug to some of the bird safety mitigation. I know that's not something that people think about a lot, but it actually does take, without these sort of mitigation efforts, it is a lot of taller buildings can be extremely dangerous for birds, and we are in a migratory path. So, but I'm sure these are also going to be things that our wonderful Environment Commission may raise as well. So, but I like to put a plug in for the birds.
Councilmember Shaw.
I wanted to echo the thanks with my colleagues and thank you for supporting our shared process to make sure that our future building is greener, more sustainable, also more inclusive as well. And I do support moving forward with the amendments.
Thank you. Councilmember Jackson.
Thank you. I would be brief. I do support moving forward with the amendments as proposed.
Thank you. I have a couple of follow-up questions. One is when we were talking about other projects, particularly in Rockville Town Square or places where there's multi-use, I've raised a comment about sound. And in the comprehensive plan, we did discuss that the building code would need to be updated to have better soundproofing for windows, because we will see more multi-use buildings, particularly in areas like Twinbrook and Rockville and parts of King Farm. You're seeing things happening outdoors, and that will continue. But we were told that there was going to be an update in the building code to address better soundproofing, not just honoring Montgomery County sound ordinance, but actual look at soundproofing. Are you looking at that? Is there anyone on staff are actively proposing that?
So the interior environmental quality sections of both codes address what's the sound transmission classification and have baselines set for that based on whether you're following a prescriptive approach or doing actual field testing. As of right now, I don't have any data to support increasing those numbers. However, we can certainly continue to look a little closer in that and see what recommendations we can make on that.
Yeah, just particularly around renters and condo owners. It was specifically noted by mayor and council in the past in the comprehensive plan, and staff suggested that they would look at it. So I would like to get an update on that, because it was alluded to by staff that what we had was not necessarily what we need to go with in the future. And maybe there's a difference between where you are, if you're building in a mixed use environment versus if you're in a more isolated area. I wanted to echo and support your comments on EV on site. Again, some of our townhome dwellers as well as multifamily dwellers didn't have the option to go EV. And so I know that you mentioned this not just being EV ready, but EV on site, EV charging on site. So thank you for that. I actively support that. Montgomery County has made some green building changes as well. Can you just share with us the interplay of what the county has done in terms of some of their requirements and how it will be impacted here?
Are you asking as far as their amendments to the green construction code, or specifically like the building energy performance standards?
Both.
We will have to circle back on that one and get a more formulated response to you.
Okay, I think that's important to consider, because I think even some of our city buildings would be impacted by that, and want to make sure we take a comprehensive look and do this once. And then I was also wondering, we've heard from someone who's building one of the Rockville's first net zero homes for sale. I know that we have two environment commissioners who've built or refitted their houses to be net zero, but we're seeing more people potentially interested in building net zero. Are there any incentives that the planning department might consider to not just the requirements, but also how we incentivize net zero for new homes?
So we don't have any specific to our department. I am aware of Montgomery County has certain tax incentives for green buildings, especially when you get that third-party certification. But we currently don't have any in CPDS in our department incentives necessarily for green homes per se.
When you come back to us, can you share with us what other jurisdictions are doing? As my colleague noted before, we are in an ecosystem around us, and so we just want to understand what's going on in terms of what makes us competitive.
Certainly.
To create more housing. Okay. All right. Well, thank you so much. Dr. Miles, did you have anything else to add again? You good? Okay. Thank you very much for your time. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
We're now moving on to agenda item 12A. This is a result of one of our strategic planning sessions and discussed the importance of childcare. So we'll be talking about childcare solutions to meet community needs. And as the team is setting up, I will note that there are a lot of studies about the importance of childcare in supporting families, but also economic development of communities. Our comptroller has issued a report on childcare. And there's been a lot of discussion about Maryland needing to improve our childcare options for community members. With that, I'd like to welcome Andrew Lett, as well as panelists Jim Wasilek and Elsa Kenbach.
Good evening, Mayor Ashton and council members. My name is Andy Lett, Superintendent of Recreation with the Department of Recreation and Parks. Tonight, I'm joined by my colleagues from the Community Planning and Development Services, as well as Housing and Community Development, plus other members of Recreation and Parks. We are excited to share our ideas and strategies on how Rockville can better support families by expanding childcare. There we go. For tonight's roadmap, here's what we'll cover. First, we'll explain the purpose of this session and what we hope to achieve. Then we'll connect this effort with your focus areas and commitments. We'll go over the questions we'll ask you at the end, so you can keep that in mind as we present. Next, we'll share insights from a recent study on childcare in Montgomery County, so you understand what the broader view in the county is. We also highlight programs that the city already offers through Recreation Parks and Housing and Community Development. And then we'll explore our strategies to make childcare more accessible and affordable. And finally, we'll open the floor to your discussion. So this work session gives us a chance to do three things. One, define a shared vision for expanding childcare in Rockville. Two, align our efforts across departments. And three, get your guidance so we can move forward with clear, actionable next steps. So the Rockville Mayor and Council has three focus areas according to the FY26 budget: economic development, public safety, and housing. Expanding childcare supports all three. It helps parents stay in the workforce, it keeps kids safe during critical hours, and improves quality of life across the city. It also shows your commitment to services that support working families to help Rockville thrive. So at the end of our presentation, we'll ask for your input on this central question. Do you support the childcare expansion strategies recommended in tonight's presentation, and then we'll invite your discussion and feedback to guide us with our next steps. For the landscape of childcare in Montgomery County, we wanted to give you the 2024 Montgomery County study that was released about childcare access and cost. Here's what they found. There's a huge gap in infant and toddler care. Only 17% of the need is being met. That shortfall is nearly 18,000 seats in the county. Why? Because child or infant care is expensive. It costs providers more to offer, and families struggle to afford it. High-quality centers can cost up to $26,000 a year for childcare under age of 3, or under age of 2, and that's $11,000 more than 3 to 4-year-olds. And community-based educators are often paid much less than those who are in the schools. To fix that, their pay would need to increase by 57%. The study recommends that the county focus on 3 goals: expanding infant and toddler care, increase the number of high-quality providers, and improve pay for community-based educators. In that study, it also recommends 6 strategies related to subsidies, grants, and policies. They include expanding awareness of the Maryland Child Care Scholarship, reducing red tape for providers, adjusting the Working Parents Assistance Program, growing EquiCare grant, offering foundational funding for providers, and creating salary scales and wage stipends to child care workers. These ideas may help Rockville focus future discussions as well. So now to what we offer. Here with Recreation and Parks, we define childcare as youth programs that serve children under the age of 13. In some cases, we do have programs up to 15-year-old for teens. Recreation Parks offers 2 licensed childcare programs, weekday out school programs, and nearly 200 summer camps. Our programs are offered at community centers, parks, and MCPS locations across the city. Families have options to use different types of credits and subsidies for our programs. They include the Federal Child Care Dependency Tax Credit, the Maryland Child Care Scholarship, Montgomery County Working Parents Assistance Fund, and the city's own Rec Fund, which provides scholarships for Rockville families. In addition, the city has designed our cost recovery structure to balance affordability and sustainability for families. So our 2 licensed programs, one is Montrose Discovery Preschool, which is for children ages 3 to 5. It offers full day and extended day options with rolling registrations. It focuses on kindergarten readiness, and the program is currently full, and the center is restricted to 2 classrooms due to the site limitations. Our Twinbrook After School Club at Twinbrook Elementary School serves children aged 5 to 12. This program became licensed in the fall of 2024. That designation allows for qualifying families to use state and county subsidies. At the end of this school year, the program is currently full. Recreation and Parks also runs weekday recreational before and after school program and non-school day programs. These serve students in K through 8, bringing buses from nearby schools to Twinbrook, Lincoln Park, and Thomas Farm. Lincoln Park recently added a new route serving Bayard Ruston. Most of our sites still have capacity except for the Lincoln Park program. On days when MCPS schools are closed, we offer full-day recreational programs for kids 5 to 15. They focus on field trips, outdoor fun, and social connections. Most of the programs still have space. Only our very popular fishing program was full. Our self-regulated summer camps follows Maryland State Health and COMAR regulations. They're offered to both by city and third-party providers. In 2024, we ran over 190 camps at 26 locations. Registrations grew from 1,600 participants in 2021 to more than 4,800 this year. So we've added additional camper slots at Croydon Creek this year, Thomas Farm, and Twin Brook, and all camps except the city subsidies. We also wanted to give you a map of all of our programs that we are offering, just to give you a reference point that it shows how many programs that both the Recreation and Parks Department plus Housing and Community Development provides. Together, these programs and locations cover a wide range of Rockville neighborhoods, helping us reach as many families as possible. So next up is our first strategy. Our first strategy is increasing funding for the Rockville Recreation Assistance Fund. By raising the maximum award per child and family, we can help more youth, especially those who need it most. We also recommend tying future increases to inflation, so it keeps up with the rising cost of programs and does not lose value over time. But it would require additional resources and funding from the city. Also, for your reference, Rockville already offers one of the highest subsidies in the county with our stackable options for summer camps, childcare, and recreational programs. For example, Gaithersburg provides $800 per child for summer camps and $250 for non-camp programs each year. Montgomery County offers $400 per individual per year. Our second strategy is to revise how families can qualify for the Rockville Youth Recreation Assistance Fund. Currently, families must provide Rockville residency and qualify for state or county assistance to get the help from the Rockville Recreation Assistance Fund. Our proposed strategies would add new ways to qualify. Families can show financial need based on household income and size. They can also, recently unemployed parents can self-declare and receive support for up to 3 months. And then any qualifying student attending an MCPS school within Rockville city limits would also gain access to the fund. These updates makes it easier for family with challenges or unique situations to get the support they need. Next, we wanted to make sure more families knew about the child care subsidies and programs already available through the city, the county, and the state. We would provide these resources through the city's website, social media, and through the Recreation Guide. We will also coordinate with other city departments to help spread the word so families don't miss out on the support they could qualify for. The fourth strategy is to serve more kids in our out-of-school programs and summer camps. Here's how we plan to do it. We'll partner with MCPS to add more bus routes, making it easier for students to get to our before and after school programs. We'll expand student service learning opportunities with our Teen Scene program so teens can earn more hours and give back. And we'll continue working to fill our summer camps and optimizing all the locations that we have, making the most of every available space in the city. Our main goal is to reach more children without sacrificing quality and safety that families rely on. Now, I'd like to transition to our next presenter, Elsa Kenfak, Community Services Manager with Housing and Community Development.
Thank you, Andy. I'm going to be talking a little bit about what our department currently does related to child care, but also what we can do to expand the matters related to child care. So as it stands, Housing and Community Development provides youth programs for children and adolescents who come from higher rates of poverty and who qualify for free reduced meal programs through MCPS or farms. So our programs are really focused on holistic care with an emphasis on youth development, youth enrichment, academic outcomes and improving them, alleviating food insecurity, providing resources, and also supporting socio-emotional support through health and programming, things like that. So we do this through 3 major avenues: our after or before school mentoring, programs, development programs, and linkages to learning. So an example of a mentoring program that we have is Rock Kids Mentoring Program, which is a structured and supportive relationship-based initiative where we have trained and committed mentors coming in to work one-on-one with our school within our schools, or with our students within our schools. So they're paired to provide guidance, support them, and allow our students to grow, learn, build character, and deal with their social, emotional challenges. So our trained mentors develop meaningful relationships with our students through one-on-one interactions while leading academic and therapeutic rec activities. This program is free to families and free to our students and is referral based. And funding comes from the city of Rockville, but also through the county. Currently, our program is not filled and is we're able to service more kids as well. One of our development programs, to define development programs, it's a structured initiative or a set of activities designed to support the personal, social, emotional, and academic growth of our young people and address key risk factors and increase upward mobility. Our Latino Youth Development Program, or LYDP, as you all may know, provides positive team-oriented activities and physical exercise for Latino males students in grades 7 through 12. Each member or student in the program are provided with after-school study halls in addition to the soccer program. This provides them an opportunity to make sure that their academics are a priority, and that we also have opportunities for them to also engage in SSL hours and things like that. Through the program, though the program was designed for Latino males, we do accept non-Latino males who meet the eligibility requirements as well. Once again, this program is free to parents, it's referral based, and funding comes from HCD and also the county. Currently, there's no capacity or limit to this program. We're always looking to expand and always welcoming new members into the program as well. Finally, we have our Linkages to Learning program. It's a school and community partnership initiative that focuses on health, connection to social services, community and family engagement, student success, and healthy communities. This program operates in collaboration with the city, County Department of Human Services, MCPS, and nonprofit partners. Through this program, our children are able to be in after-school programs like Edutainment, which combines entertainment and education, Girls on the Run, which is an after-school program that allows our girls to be active, lunch bunches, sixth grade readiness camps, and the second time we're running a summer camp, which will be held to promote a different opportunity for students who might not be able to afford summer school and summer camps, the opportunity to be in the program. So our parents are also able to receive case management through our Linkages to Learning program. And this helps assist them with access to resources and navigating whether it's applications to resources and programs, navigating roadblocks that negatively impact their own children as well. As of today, as you can see from the presentation, our counseling caseload is full, even though it says that there's one slot. It's been filled. And we are currently able to support about 20 to 25 students within the programs that we have. So this program is once again open to our farms families and is referral based. It's completely free to families. And though there are outside resources, we are able to support our families with financial assistance and things like that as well. Next slide. Next, I'm going to talk a bit about our REAP program, which you all have talked about before and things like that. So our REAP is our Rockville Emergency Assistance Program. Our Rockville residents that fall within our jurisdiction who are facing evictions, utility disconnection, or need prescription medications are able to contact our department and receive support. So for the upcoming FY 2026 budget, we've been able to add additional funding to account for a need that's often overlooked by assisting families with childcare costs for parents who may be overloaded with other financial burdens such as bills and utilities. Next slide, please. Next, I'm going to also go over our community services and enrichment grants. You all may recognize this slide from a previous budget meeting where we talked about community grants that will be awarded for 2026. So in FY 2026, the city merged the former Caregiver Grant Program and the Community Organizations Grant Program to become the Community Services and Enrichment Grants. So our department will manage this new program, which with your support and collaboration has a combined budget of $1.5 million to fund 39 programs, which is actually a 22% increase from FY25. Consolidating these two programs provided alignment in the timing of the grant process and due dates, and provided consistency in panel application review and scoring. As a part of this change and in the recognition of community needs, the budget took a fresh look on granting opportunities and levels here. Next slide. Thank you. So the current awards for FY26 falls over these 8 categories as shown here. And one thing that I want to point out is that out of these 8 categories, you'll notice that childcare is not currently a focus area. Next slide. So in this in mind, I'm gonna go over some of the strategies that we propose within our department. First is to continue to expand our existing youth mentoring and development programs. We really believe in not just growing wide, but growing deep, right where we are at. So the idea is to continue to figure out how we can expand the students that the program that we have right now to reach more students in the schools that we are currently at. Also to serve more students in our LYDP program and things like that as well. You can say here. So just for reference, many of our schools, such as Twinburg, for example, have a farms rate of over 70%, which means there are additional students who need our support and who can access these services that we're not yet reaching. So being able to provide additional students and families with services would target a large population where child care and services are really a need and probably a challenge to access. So following this proposed plan in FY 2027, which is crazy to think about, we hope to also think about expanding our programs to reach other schools as well with these same benefits. Next slide. Our next strategy or approach, which was discussed in the May 19th Mayor and Council meeting, was, like I mentioned, adding additional funding that qualifies for the qualifying REAP applicants who can receive money towards childcare. So parents and families will be able to receive up to $2,000, which aligns with what the market and research says are the current rates to supplement childcare. Next slide. And finally, the last strategy is to incorporate a child care focus in the FY27 Community Services and Enrichment Grants to expand community-based child care programs and providers. So this could look like creating criteria that includes a percentage of families that organizations and facilities must offer low-cost or free child care to qualifying city residents as they receive funding from the city. Another example could be providing funding to existing organizations that can be used to expand the number of children that they're able to serve or enroll in their programs. An example could look like funding to cover the cost of a new employee that the organization would have, or funding an additional space being constructed within their building and things like that. Next is providing funding to encourage organizations to provide scholarships to parents and families in need. As a regular part of our existing program, our organizations, the orgs that we fund and support would participate in site visits and quarterly evaluations, which is already part of our requirements of our grant programs. This would ensure that funding is used as it's supposed to be used, and that we are appropriately serving our city residents. This could also look like looking to expand the number of organizations that we serve in the grant program for 2027. So now we're moving towards the community planning and development services part of the presentation, so I'll pass it on to Jim.
Thank you, Elsa. We wanted to let you know about the current regulatory environment for private providers that are within the city and that are subject to our zoning ordinance. We basically have 3 categories within the code. We have child care homes, child care centers for between 9 and 12 children, and child care centers for greater than 12 children. And those all have different types of approvals that are required to actually achieve that status. Child care homes are allowed by right in all of our residential zones, and those are the R zones and the RMD zones, residential medium density. A child care home is defined for having up to 8 children. And these are, again, a matter of right, and what is required is only a fire safety inspection. Child care centers for between 9 and 12 children are also in our residential zones, but they are allowed only by special exception. So if you wanted to go from a child care home and increase just a few children up to 12, you still have to go through a special exception. We've had a couple of providers that have had to go through that process. Special exceptions are granted by the Board of Appeals. And so there's, as you know, our process involves a pre-application and a public hearing in front of the board and application fees, et cetera. So it is somewhat burdensome for that relatively incremental addition. Then we also have child care centers for more than 12 children, and this covers all of the providers beyond 12, whether they be in residential areas or within our mixed-use zones. So these are also allowed by special exception only in the residential zones and by right with site plan approval in our mixed-use zones. So we do have some strategies to address some of the concerns that we identified. And next slide, please. So one of those is to streamline the approval process for home-based childcare, or childcare homes as they're called in the code. And that would be to either increase the number of children that may attend as a matter of right from 8 up to 12 or some other number, and either that or allow them as a conditional use that can be approved by staff. As I said earlier, between 9 and 12 children requires special exception, and that's somewhat onerous process. So we think there's a better way to get to that level of service provider. Next slide, please. The next strategy is to change zoning regulations that streamline the approvals of child care centers in residential zones. These are the larger types of facilities, also requiring special exception approval, but perhaps those could be a conditional use approval so that if certain criteria are met, then they can be approved by staff. And there wouldn't be a public hearing process, et cetera, that they would need to go through. One thing that we did note is that many places of worship and other institutional uses kind of have the on-site infrastructure for child care centers. And if we could make those, at least those, not have to require special exception approval, then that perhaps would be helpful to achieve some larger child care centers that are within the residential neighborhoods. And then our next strategy would be to, again, change zoning regulations to streamline the approval of child care centers in our non-residential and mixed-use zones. One thing that we identified is that child care centers are frequently needed in employment areas, and those would be in our mixed-use zones, even in our industrial zones and areas where retail is permitted. Those perhaps could be an accessory use. The thinking there is that accessory use is something that's customary to the primary use and doesn't necessarily require site plan approval. So that's something that we could consider. If we could have child care centers be in that category, then that would, again, make it easier for providers to locate in those areas. And of course, we would encourage right sizing our zoning requirements across the board, including required parking and drop off and those types of things that are associated with child care centers. I will say that we are looking at a number of these things already in the zoning ordinance rewrite project. We have a work session coming up with you next month. And so we'll be looking at some of the use related issues with you as part of that process. So we also wanted to make you aware of the action by the Maryland General Assembly that passed House Bill 389 that impacts taxes for child care providers potentially, and that became effective June 1st. The personal property tax exemption for both registered family child care homes and registered large family child care homes is in effect. And there's also the potential for localities such as Rockville to enact a real property tax credit of up to $10,000 or an actual tax on child care space for those properties with dedicated child care or daycare areas. And of course, the purpose of those two things are to reduce provider costs and encourage more quality childcare in Maryland and in Rockville. So the strategy to achieve some of those things that potentially Rockville could take advantage of course, is to adopt the ordinance to align our codes with the state authorized tax credits that are we have the potential to do. And then simplifying applications, create a clear, accessible process for providers to achieve that tax relief. And then, of course, make the providers aware that these things are available to them. So again, the requested feedback that we have, we would like to hear from you is, do you support our child care expansion strategies that are recommended in tonight's presentation? And we have those back on the screen for you just so you can key on those. And we look forward to your questions and feedback.
I'll just say thank you. There's a lot in this presentation to digest. I'm glad this is a workshop. I know there's going to be more than one discussion on this, so we really appreciate all the work that went into this. When we proposed this as a potential priority topic, and I know last council this topic came up as well, I think this is the most thorough we've seen in terms of all the different types of strategies that can be offered. So I also appreciate the cross-department collaboration, really, really strong and much appreciated. I have a few questions. I know my colleagues have a lot as well. I'm wondering if we can do overarching question first, and then we'll maybe go in and do straw polls by strategies. How does that sound? Okay, all right. All right, so my overarching questions are one thing that I didn't hear full information on, that I know I've gotten a little more detail in the past, is our summer youth programs. And you did have a total number that we serve, and I got to see how that has been growing exponentially over time. What I would like to know is some of the other programs you showed, how well those programs are used. And during a previous mayor and council session, one of the things I raised was the wait list for certain programs. People were 200, slots on hold. Has the city looked at our wait list to see where we are? Because summers are a huge gap for parents, where their kids are going to school, and then all of a sudden they got to figure out what's going on in the summertime. And I know that's a pain point for many parents. I've dealt with that personally, and I will say that Rockville programs are excellent. You kind of have to be a speedy person registering, because I remember I've equated some of the programs to a Taylor Swift or Beyonce concert, like 12 minutes after they're sold out. So I just want to get a sense of how are we doing on that. I know we added some more programs, we added staff, but just a temperature check, how are we doing?
So you are correct. We always have a wait list, especially for our high demand programs. Teens on the Go, certain locations, College Gardens, continuously be in high demand. We always try to evaluate our sites, how we can optimize those locations. Reality is sometimes we are limited by the sites themselves on what we can do as far as the number of individuals we can take. MCPS does control many of the spaces we use, and then we also have limitations on transportation, and Teens on the Go is getting impacted by what sites that we can go to and their capacity limits. So we're trying to adjust for all those. We constantly evaluate how we can improve on those. But to give you an idea right now, we do have 800 slots still available this summer. So while we may not have the most high demand locations, we still have space available for individuals to be in our programs.
Through a deeper analysis previously, we were able to say that yes, we had slots, but there were age groups that we were missing.
Right.
So I'm just wondering, it doesn't have to be today, but can we identify if there is an issue with a particular age group where we're sold out? There used to be sort of the preteen age was a big problem before. Is that still the case? And not just looking at total number of slots, we may have like 50 slots open, but maybe that's in an age group that there's not the same level of demand. So I'm just wondering if someone can share that with us so we can just see where we stand.
We can get that information for you,
Okay,
yes.
excellent. The one other thing I wanted to note, I'm not sure if you guys are aware, but the Maryland Women's Business Center, located here in Rockville, has a childcare business program, a business development program. Has your team had a chance to check in with them about that?
I am aware from our last session that we did with you all. I have not circled back with them on them this time. I did circle back with the county, so the county early care and education office. They have provided a lot of information for us about how child care providers can provide more information. So really what we were thinking about doing with our strategy of including more information, that would be incorporated in that with the businesses and efforts that they're leading as well with the Maryland Women's Business Center.
Okay, I just wanted to point it out that we should add it into our background here as a strategic partner to align with if we're looking to expand childcare options, because they're literally focused on training people to be able to open up their childcare business and how to get through the process and certifications to do that. Then you did have county data on where we stand on childcare. Do you have a sense of Rockville data? I know that might require a whole report, but does the county break down by jurisdiction at all? And is there any way we could see how many childcare businesses we still need in Rockville compared to demand?
The county studies has always been countywide, and I have not gotten down to Rockville specifically. I'm trying to remember their name, but there is one organization that does have a list of all the childcare providers by zip code. So you are able to look at them by zip code.
Okay. Yeah, I think it would be helpful just to, I'm just curious, is the gap as bad as it is in the county? Or, I mean, we do have a lot of in-child daycare. We have daycare centers. There's I know more opening. But I just was trying to see, are we on par with where they are? Are we worse? Are we just to get a sense of how many more we need?
There is a report that talks about childcare deserts, and I know that Rockville is not currently considered a childcare desert.
Well, that's great. That's great. And then the other one that I wanted to mention, it's not officially a summer camp, but parents use it as such sometimes, the swim center. I know, I see Tara smiling in the background. But we do offer discounted memberships to families, and that to me seems like it's part of how we help families as well. And I believe, is it, how much do you have to pay if you need financial assistance for the swim center? I think there was like 200 people being served by that program, if I remember, when I checked a couple years ago.
I know Adam runs that program. I'm actually not involved with it, so if we can get that information for you.
Okay,
too.
all right. All right, I have some program strategy specific questions. I'm going to hold on those, but I will also say, as we're looking for space, I know we're going through the King Farm filtering session, and that's on many of the options, so hopefully we'll be able to add some more space to do programming. Okay. Dr. Miles.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I want to echo the thanks to staff for this very helpful presentation. Generally speaking, I support all 11 strategies. I have been focused, as you all may remember, particularly during the last term, on early care and education, not to the exclusion of the other end of the age spectrum, the teenagers. I'll speak briefly about that shortly. I did ask city staff their thoughts on whether or not we could expand early care and education offerings, particularly given that we do have at least one center, the Montrose Child Care Center. And I was, while I do recognize the space limitations at that site, I am happy to learn about staff within the proposed potential budget would be a feasibility study in terms of assessing long-term needs. But as was noted in the presentation earlier, it does cost, the better part of a mortgage to send a kid to early care and education. To the extent we can provide local options, more local options would be great. The last comment I have is with regard to the other end of the age spectrum, that being our teenagers. I was happy, as the mayor outlined, we do see some utilization numbers, which was helpful. I don't know that I've seen those in the past, but I'd ask, staff, why is it that we see kind of a fall off in terms of the number of spots available and then relative to those who actually participate, particularly in our teenage groups, I believe both at the Twin Brooks Teen Scene and after school half days and such. And I'm interested in learning how we capture more of those youth. I do appreciate staff's comments about other offerings, and those kids are old enough to stay home. But I do want to make sure we continue redoubling our efforts to involve youth. I'm not saying that uninvolved youth are the cause of some of our difficulties and some of the nuisance things, but generally speaking, just youth being engaged in activities throughout the day can be helpful for just them personally, in addition to looking at more broadly how to address public safety. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman Valeri, and then Councilman Shaw.
Excellent. I want to echo, thank you. This is a tremendous presentation, and I was like, I had read it over and looked at this agenda item a bunch of times, but I'm still sitting here like scribbling notes because there is a lot in here, but that's a good thing, right? These are all really important aspects of the same issue. And seeing as economic development is one of our priorities, we know that childcare directly impacts economic development and ensuring everybody is in the workforce who wants to be in the workforce. I should caveat all of my comments, and I think some of you know this. I'm pretty sure Mr. Lett knows this. So in the course of my son's life, we did early birds, which is before care. We did after school adventures, which is after care. We've done summer camps and all the other programs. And if it wasn't for many of these, it would have been impossible to have maintained employment. So I'm really appreciative to the city. It was a challenge before the age of 5, and I think that we're still trying to work out, I could see it in the presentation that we're still trying to figure out what our role could be to help get that, age 3 and under, actually age 5 and under, provide those kind of in-home care opportunities or making it more affordable. Because I will tell you, as a single income home at that point, that my son was that age, it was beyond what we could afford. And somehow we made it. Not saying that other people, but yeah. Anyway, it was only through the grace of God that we made it. So I definitely saw, I would be interested in seeing a little bit more on what we could do to be supportive of more infant and toddler care. I think that is a critical component of it. I know there's no easy solution, but I would be really interested in that personally, and seeing if we can encourage more people to go into that as a job possibility. But I also understand that right now the federal administration is actually putting fear into many of our daycare providers so that they are no longer providing the in-home services that a lot of us rely on. So I think that that's a little bit of a challenge, and I think it's something we should have in the back of our head, because a lot of these concerns came up before the county actually did that report, or the county report came out before a lot of us recognized exactly how tough it was going to be. Just a couple top line things. I'd be remiss as the Human Services Advisory Commission liaison if I did not ask, as part of the human needs assessment, did we capture the existing need in the city for childcare of any level? I cannot remember. I was trying to go through my notes really fast, but I cannot recall that we captured that specifically.
I thought we did. I want to go back and check that. It was noted as a gap for sure. But for me to be able to quantitatively rattle that off right now, I couldn't do that. But when we bring that back, if there's support for that, we'll certainly provide that data.
Yeah, I would be appreciative. Yeah, I knew that that HSAC had been looking at that for a while. So I just wanted to flag that. I also think that part of our challenge when we look at different age and different needs is that we tend to, and I say this as a mother of someone who went through teen scene, we kind of smush preteens and teens together. And the needs of a preteen versus the need of a teen is really different. And frankly, I think it kind of does a disservice to both of those age groups because, if you go and you're a teen and most of the people there are preteens, you're not going to really want to go back. And I think that that's one of the challenges that the Teen Scene program it has suffered from. I think the other thing we might want to consider too is like looking at a focus group with teens and really, okay, what are the sort of things that you would be interested in seeing the city provide? Like, what are the things that you'd like to do? Because I think that is the challenge. A lot of times we think we know what teens want and preteens, frankly. But I think it would be really great to kind of do a informal focus group with those two age cohorts because I think that we could do a lot more there. Madam Mayor, I will stop there. I do have more things that are specific to the strategies, but that's my overall thoughts.
Thank you. Councilmember Shaw.
Thank you. I also want to echo the comments of my colleagues. This was an excellent presentation and on a very needed topic for working families. I did have a question around the zoning. Is there an example of a jurisdiction that did similar zoning changes as you're proposing that was successful in expanding childcare?
Certainly, we looked to City of Gaithersburg. They just rewrote their code. I don't know specifically if they went in this direction, but that we would have to do some research and get back with you.
Okay. My other question, in terms of increasing the existing subsidy, would that also include cooperative businesses and cooperative business models for childcare?
Yep, it absolutely could.
Okay. And then in regards to, so I would like to move forward with all of these strategies. What I think could be helpful, as Madam Mayor has also shared, getting more data on where the need is and how each of those strategies could address the need. At this point, I certainly want to go forward with all of them, but it would be helpful just to have that as a little bit of background. And then building on that data, also understanding if there could be more of an equity analysis with, I saw that we served 17% of the need, but just going into that a little bit more to get a larger picture of who is being served, who is not being served, and demographics. I will note in the county's Child Care Bill 38-21, there's a racial equity social justice impact statement for that bill that provides some really high-level data on demographics and what can advance equity in this area, and I found that really helpful as a possible model if you want to explore the equity analysis with the data. And let's see. Oh, I had a question about REAP. I know it mentioned that parents could qualify if they have a eviction notice from the sheriff, but I was wondering if that actually meant a failure to pay rent notice, which comes a lot earlier, because I do know that people are qualified when they get a failure to pay notice, a court notice, which is different from an eviction notice, which is way, way at the end of the process. And there's very little time.
So I don't think I quite know the answer to that, so I can circle back. Yep.
Let me take a stab at it. I think our intent is really to provide the assistance before it's a true emergency and their way out the door. I hear you loud and clear if that's the will of the council, because we don't want to wait till the last second for sure.
Yeah.
So with all of these, Mayor, if it's okay, for all 11, if you guys say, hey, let's continue to explore these, when we bring back the individual strategies, we'll bring back more robust data. And then we may bring back a couple of different options like the one you just described, so you guys can say that's the one we want.
I know to qualify for REAP, it's a failure to pay rent
Yep.
notice, not an eviction notice, which comes way, way later.
Yep.
And so I do think it's important to maintain that with childcare.
Thank you.
I believe, just because I asked this question recently, and I was told that we did adjust that to be earlier as well, so I think
Correct.
that may be covered. Yeah. Councilman Van Grack.
Thank you. Absolutely fantastic presentation. And not just into the detail, but the coordination of the different departments to come together and not just look at basic, simple issues, but to look outside of the box and try to come up with every different solution we can possibly look that could affect childcare in the city. So every single department, every single person who was involved in this deserves significant credit and kudos, because this is the type of thing that we need. We need more than just, hey, here are a couple options. This was significant work, and there's no doubt the time and effort that went into it was fantastic. With regard to these 11 choices, similar to some of my colleagues, they're all great ideas. They're all something to support. I, however, look at these and I see three different categories of them. First, I see 1, 3, 4, 5, and 6, all options where we're going to need to put some type of funding going forward to them. Then I see 2, 7, 8, 9, and 10, which are all policy-based issues, which could affect some financial, but it's primarily the priorities that we're putting forward that don't essentially get into the budget. And then there's 11, because that could be potential tax benefits, less categorically potentially some less income for the city. 2 through 10, it's the 2, 7, 8, 9, and 10. From what staff's described here, absolutely. They're policy-based initiatives that I think would be absolutely good. The question I have for staff is when we're looking at these funding areas and the potential benefit, which is 1, 3, 4, 5, and 6, where we need to put more money in, and 11, where we'd potentially lose some income, how are we looking at having, if we support all of these issues, the impact to the budget, especially when, as this council and the mayor has talked about previously, we could be looking at some, I guess I'd say, global or significant impacts to the city's budget overall, given the national conditions, national and regional.
So that is the question. So I think you categorize them correctly. Again, if you guys say, look at all 11, there's really the criteria we look at it in terms of bringing it back are program criteria adjustments, funding, via the budget, changing our grant criteria, which would help quite a bit, and also the zoning court update, which we're already in that process. We already have those systems in place, which is the good news. We have to create a new one. But candidly, it's just like the rest of our budget process. If you guys say, do your best to incorporate all these new programs, Jeff, into the budget, we'll do exactly that. But then it may be, well, if I'm recommending $30,000, you guys could say, not quite, maybe 15 or maybe 50. But we'll just put everything in a budget recommendation per strategy and per program, and you guys are the ultimate decision makers.
So from a budget perspective, and I just want to clarify because you did mention it, when you're talking about incorporating the child care focus into the city provided grants, we're really talking about a shifting priority of the grants, not necessarily just bulk overall changing that from a budgetary perspective, or are we potentially talking about both?
We're not talking about a fundamental change. We're just saying that when we're looking at the grant program next year, if your grant proposal includes childcare, then it's going to be rated much higher and greater chance for funding.
Okay, and then again, like I said from the outset, all of these are items that I think we should support and continue to look at. We just have to make sure that it's within the budget, that we're not impacting the city overall with regard to what, I mean, I think based on, and I don't want to speak for my colleague, but myself, ideally, I'd want significant amount of funding to the extent for everything, but we also have to look at what is the reality given the other priorities that we have and making sure the city stays financially sound.
Thank you. I will just say on all things that we talk about, if there's something that's going to trigger a tax increase in 3 years, you need to tell us.
The chance of me doing that are pretty slim.
Okay, all right. Just we have to make sure that we're living within our means as well and considering the hardships that people are facing. I just have 3 or 4 quick things, and I just want to do a round robin on specific questions about these strategies, because I think you heard generally people are supportive of the strategies, and maybe some specific things people want to know. I definitely think that we have a youth commission, to my colleague's comment, and they've been trying to do a survey out in the community. So I think there's an opportunity to potentially look at what do teens want and need. So I just wanted to note that, maybe coordinating with the youth commission on the teen activities. The second is for daycares. I noticed on the website that we charge a higher rate to non-residents. Do you have a sense of, are we serving mostly residents, or are there a lot of non-residents that are taking seats of residents?
Like I said, we have rolling registration. So when one person goes out, one comes in. On average, we're about 2/3 residents, 1/3 non-residents.
That's significant.
Yeah.
I asked the question because it is somewhat subsidized, and I know that you charge a higher fee for a non-resident, but it's still not the same level of a non thing. So if you look at the data and there's a significant issue for childcare, affordable childcare for our residents, we have to think about that. I know for most of our rec programs, we think differently, and we welcome everybody, but this issue is so critical, and if we do truly have a gap, we should prioritize residents, because this is somewhat subsidized. So I don't know if there's a process for that or not.
We're able to take residency. We know who are residents, who are non-residents. We currently have 2 on our wait list, but those are like going forward. So it's not so significant. Like at one point we were like 15, 20 people on our wait list. We are not at that place at this time.
Yeah, and I don't think this program is like a hidden secret.
Right.
So I will say, I remember talking to some people who are involved in the city, some former electeds, they're like, we have a childcare program? I'm like, yes, we do. So I just want to make sure, if there is a wait list, do you prioritize residents? Like our MPU program?
Not currently, no.
So I think that should be a policy discussion, just in terms of future wait lists. I don't know what my colleagues think about that, but I'm seeing a lot of shaking heads. I'm not against, I welcome residents, non-residents, but if there's a wait list, we need to make sure we're taking care of our residents.
I saw really quick thumbs. Thank you.
Okay, all right. And then the other larger question is at-risk youth. So I do see the Latino Development Program is fantastic. It actually helps kids think about college, and I just have seen that work in action, and it's amazing. But I'm wondering if we have something for at-risk youth. We have been seeing between Rockville City Police Department, there's some repeat situations where people need additional help. Do we collaborate with RCPD to see, can we provide services for kids who are at risk so that we don't enter the justice system, that they can get on a path for leadership and support activities? I know the county has sort of a street action team that does that, but I would love to see what we do for at-risk kids who are potentially at risk of getting into the system, and we're trying to help give them an alternative path.
So we don't currently have a system or a relationship in that way. We've reached out to RCPD for an issue that kind of broke out, and that can lead to a partnership in some way. But I think it'd be a great idea to partner with them and see what else we can do, particularly with those students as well. We're hoping to actually expand LYDP to do a lot more programming throughout the year in terms of, like you kind of said, college visits and things like that, to an opportunities for our youth to get more opportunities. So that'd be a great thing to kind of bring into play as well.
Yeah, and I think that's the other department to add to the amazing partnership that you have, because we want to make sure we're giving kids good alternatives And then it's not necessarily childcare, but I will continue to support internships and apprenticeships for young people. I know that in FY27, we're supposed to be getting something from staff on that, so I just want to make sure I raise that as well. Councilmember Jackson, did you have a question?
Yes, I did, Mayor. Thank you. First, let me just echo my colleagues. This is a fantastic presentation. The depth of the presentation was really, really good, and the cooperation between departments was stellar. You gave us a lot of information to chew on, and I think it's really fortuitous right now as well, just because now that we're past COVID and people are actually going back to work, whether the federal government or just in the general workplace. And so people who had gotten used to working from home now are going back to the office. And childcare is now kind of even more foremost on people's minds. So I think it's really a good conversation to have right now. Now, I was holding my comments because I really had a question about the strategies. And I support the strategies that you've laid out, but I just wanted to take a deeper dive into strategies 1 and 2, because I just have a little bit of questions about that. So on the scholarship funding, you list increase of about $10 per child per month, about $75 per family year, and I think it's the same for each category. Is that enough? I mean, like, it's $10 a month. So walk me through why you chose $10 a month, and will that be an impactful increase?
So it was going with the inflationary costs. So we were trying to start that process of keeping up with inflation. So that was an inflationary rise from this past year's inflation amount. And that's how we came up with that total amount, rounding to the $5.
Yeah, so I know, my personal experience with inflation. So, I mean, $10 a month, it's good, but I'm just not really sure that that's really the true cost of inflation. So I want to do a little bit more research on that. But on the other, number 2, strategy 2 on the scholarship requirements. So I want to dig down into this one because I didn't really understand this slide. Maybe that's just me. The current policy says proof of Rockville residency and verification of financial need from a state or county-run assistance or benefits program. Then you add several categories, and I'm just curious, like, is that and or is it or? So could you walk me through those categories and how does it work to qualify for the scholarship requirements?
So currently, the scholarship requirements require verification from either state or county-run assistance. So that's either farms or state subsidies, et cetera. So we are not doing our own verification right now. We are relying on those organizations to go through the financials of the individuals that qualify for our programs. What we are saying for the new policy would be or technically, or. So if they don't qualify currently or are not part of a county subsidy or a state subsidy, they can go through, provide us their financials, their household, and we would be able to qualify them based on that. So somebody who may not be part of a subsidy program could now qualify for our rec fund.
Yeah, and so I think I'm echoing the mayor, well, probably every member of the council. While I support or, I guess, I mean, when I'm looking at it, and it says any student who attends an MCPS school within city corporate limits is eligible for the rec fund. Well, that includes non-residents. And so, I mean, I'm sympathetic to people who want to take advantage of our programs. But, you know, I think given the fiscal situation that we are in and will potentially be in, I'm comfortable opening it up so broad. I think, you know, we need to craft something that really takes care of Rockville's residents first and then looks outside.
That's good feedback. When we bring it back, we'll just dial in a little bit. We understand the concern.
I will agree with that. I'll just note, one thing we can do is to open up conversations with the county. If someone wants to attend our school but apply for their subsidies, then why not? I think that we should be open to partnerships like that. And then also, I know that we have some students on the border of Rockville city limits, and so I know I've raised this with staff on the Beyond the Bell programs and getting some of those into our schools so that the county, if they're providing free services in other places, they should not avoid our schools, which is happening a bit because they think that we don't want them in there or something from the past. I'm not sure. But we have significant number of students in some of the Title I schools who could really benefit from the Beyond the Bell program. So I don't know where we stand on that. Do you have an update on whether the county is going to be moving forward on those programs?
So I would describe it as, and remembering they're our partner, so I would describe it as we've had fruitful conversations, but they did include it in this year's budget. So we'll just have to continue to lobby them, and hopefully they'll come to a mutual understanding that it benefits everybody. So I guess we would say staff completely agrees with you, Mayor. We just have to have a little bit more influence on the county.
Okay. I'm aware that there are some groups that have successfully advocated the county for that support. And when I looked at the rate of farms recipients who are designated as farms needs, their needs are lower than Twinbrook, for example. And so I think we need to look very hard with the county at that data and see what we can do to work with partners to push for that programming for our kids on the border. All right, let's go to just policy one and just see if there are any other, strategy one. Let's see if there are any questions. I just want to make sure we're clearing by these really quickly. Is there anything on strategy one? Can you go to that slide that people want to raise comments on or questions in particular, just to get through our list? I know. Thank you for your comments. Any other comments on this one? I think generally supportive. Councilmember Valeri.
I'll be super quick. I agree with my colleague, and I think that I appreciate knowing what other jurisdictions are doing. I think we can do better than them, and I think that we can do more than $10.
And the number of it's not necessarily general inflation, but are you talking about the increase in the Rockville fees have been? Is that what you were covering with the $10 per month? Because that may be different than inflation, right?
No, we were using basically the index, the CPI index for the inflation rate.
I mean, it seems like we could look at a mix of inflation and also how have our fees increased.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, I'm looking to see if anyone has any other questions on item one. Okay, and I think you've heard from us, like, if we can expand, that's great, and also looking at the swim center as well in this. Okay.
Yeah, back on 2.
Let's go to 2. Strategy 2. Sorry, thank you. All right. Councilman Valeri.
Super quickly, and I appreciate previous comments. I am personally uncomfortable if the only criteria is attending an MCPS school, whether it's a resident or non-resident, because that does not connect to financial need. And however we want to connect to financial need, I think that's critical. So if we wanted to combine verification of financial need, which I would actually include state, county, or federal assistance or benefit program, because again, you don't have to do that verification. That's something that people will have. I would be okay with the two of those together. But I'm struggling because I don't think that every student who attends an MCPS school may need the little bit of financial help.
And I apologize. In my speech, I was talking about only qualified individuals, not any MCPS student. It was only qualifying MCPS students.
No, that makes sense. Thank you. 'Cause I was like, oh,
And I
anyway.
think you have our comments on residency there as well. Okay, Councilman Van Grack.
Yeah, I just want to say, well, I agree with the residency. So then this chart should say at the top, proof of Rockville residency or any student who attends an MCPS school within the corporate limits. Because the other ones are all ors. This one is part of the residency requirement. Is that what you were intending?
Correct.
Okay.
So it'll be people who attend our schools but are Rockville residents.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like that.
Okay.
Thank you, Adam.
If someone goes to a charter school outside, for example, that they would not qualify?
If they are a city resident, they would qualify.
If they're city resident, perfect. Okay, that's fine. All right, strategy 3, enhance outreach. I say yes, yes, yes. I rarely see, I would say yes on and marketing what they are, but I would also say yes on encouraging donations to the fund. We need to do a better job. We have people in the city and businesses have big hearts. People want to help. And so I definitely think, especially I know we talked about that with REAP. There were very few donations on REAP. We need to also do that here. So I would say active fundraising. Any questions or comments on this? Councilman Valeri.
I think we need to perhaps rebrand or co-brand. I don't think I knew that the rec fund could be used for the childcare options, frankly, because I mean, they're necessity, they're not recreation in my head. So however we want to like frame it, I'm in agreement with the mayor, by the way, on both encouraging people who do have the means to donate to the rec fund and to donate to REAP, because I'm just going to say this, maybe we should start all of our updates with that as well. Give if you can, because there's so many people in need. But yeah, my only addition to this is just as a parent who used it, I had no idea. And putting it more front and center in the rec guide as well. I know that I think that you changed it in one of these catalogs. Okay, because I remember they used to be hidden in the back.
Yeah, we make sure that it's towards the front of the guide.
Okay, cool. Then that was changed. Yeah, because I remember I was like, we have a fund. But yeah, I think however we can brand it so that everybody knows that this fund can help you here, here, and here would be great.
I think that's a great point, because I know I've encountered families who don't even open the book because they feel like they can't afford it. Yeah. So maybe put financial assistance available right on the cover in a little circle or something. I have heard that. People are like, oh no, I don't even show that to my kid because they're going to ask me to go, so I'm worried about that.
That's a good point.
Councilmember Shaw.
I like the idea of working with other city departments to spread the word. So essentially that means if a resident comes to the city for help with housing or an income-based type of need, that person would also receive some information on childcare. Okay, thank you.
Well, as you talked about the departments, to echo the comments of my colleagues, I just want to make sure we're adding RCPD in here. The other one is the commissions. I mentioned the Youth Commission, but I also wanted to ask that we share this presentation with the Education Commission. They're very much focused on youth and education and supports. They organized with us the Principal Roundtable, and what we learned in the Principal Roundtable is that many of the principals had no idea we had these kind of financial assistance programs. So to the extent that we can collaborate them on ideas as well as getting the word out about our programs would be very helpful. Okay. All right, let's go to strategy 4. Colleagues, any comments on this? think we're pretty good. I made some comments on the summer camps before, so I'm not going to repeat those. Oh, on the grants, we actually do have something focused on young people, our youth development. So maybe just reframing the name, childcare and youth development, because we do focus on young people.
That's a good point.
And I also want to make sure that as we're considering funding, people who are applying for food insecurity caregiver support or housing caregiver support are not trumped by, because I know there was a comment on like, if you do childcare, you get extra points. I just want to make sure it's within category. All right. Strategy 5, Councilman Valeri.
Yes. Okay. So actually, in our community grant structure, I believe we call it, and apologies to Councilmember Jackson, I believe we call it senior services, and then there's youth development. I would say that it's youth services because we need to look at grants that are serving our young people. And so I don't believe, unless I'm wrong, and Madam Mayor is always good at correcting me on these things, there's nothing in our current structure that would prevent a program doing childcare or particularly youth services from getting a grant from the city. Or is there?
I don't think so.
There is not.
No,
Okay.
I don't think so.
Because I know that for a while now, myself and some of my colleagues have been wondering, what the outreach is to people who provide these services. Now, if we can just add in childcare as well, I would love to see next year's community grants being a lot more diverse in the communities that they serve. I think would be terrific. The other things that I have on this slide, I could probably talk all day about the Latino Youth Program because I think it's amazing and does amazing work. And I've seen the results of it in person. It is phenomenal and it is a game changer. I would love to see it expanded to young girls. And I know that that's something on the horizon, but then maybe, that would make me happy if we could just expand it to young girls as well. And I know that you talked about there's going to be looking at expanding the program. If I recall correctly, part of the challenge of expanding it was the need for more fields for the actual. So if we perhaps could look at partnering with MCPS on utilizing fields. I don't believe the Latino Youth Program is using like even Twin Brook Elementary's fields. Do
They meet at Maryvale mostly.
Yeah, so for the students at Twin Brook, they can't just go to the program at Twin Brook. Like I don't know, I don't know what the booking looks like, let's just say. But I think there's a partnership there that could help us to then expand that program. And of course, if we can expand it to young girls as well. Definitely on the youth mentoring and youth services, co-sign everything the mayor said about working with RCPD. I love the idea of like some component of our community engagement officers. They are already kind of out there doing it, but if we could even like kind of quantify it, because I think that both the community engagement officers that I've talked to, they know how to talk to young people too, and they get kind of they get teens and they get preteens as well. That's why you see a lot of our officers at the skate jam, in part because I think that they get it. So I want to definitely co-sign that, as well as all teens, as well as most at-risk and at-risk youth would be really helpful. So in general, I already talked about the kind of issues separating out preteens and teens. I think that that'll help too, to kind of focus, because that is a lot of why you see when you show that one slide of like, look at all these programs and they're all filled up and teen scene is not. I think that we can kind of get to there. And I think that's all I have right now. And thank you to thank you to Madam Mayor for reminding me I'm the liaison to the Youth Commission. But I think that they are, although they are older teens, for the most part, we do actually have a commissioner who is a student in middle school as well. So it would be a really good variety of experiences. And as long as you tell them they can be brutally honest, I think we can learn a lot from what they see and what they don't see.
Thank you. I have a couple quick comments on strategy 5. For the Twin Brook After School Club, it's totally maxed out. Have we talked about working with the school as a way to expand capacity for that? Because I know you are limited by the space at the Twin Brook Rec Center.
Currently, for the Twin Brook After School Club, we're limited by funding, so we don't have enough for additional benefited staff person to help run that program, as well as the supplies. We could, under our current license, offer 30 more slots. That's how the licensing goes, is by sets of 30. So we can do it for 30 participants with the current funding and staffing that we have. But we do have the capability to go for additional 30, but we would need that funding.
And you hire some teenagers to help with that too, don't you?
Say that one more time.
You hire teens to help with that program as well, don't you? I remember that there's some teens who started working at that program.
They may have
who now
started
work for the city.
working at our, so there's the Twin Brook After School program at the elementary school, and then we have the before and after program that's at the community center. We've had teens work at the community center, but not the elementary school.
Right, it makes sense for the rec center because
Yeah, because it's now that it's a licensed program, we have to have certain age requirements for our participants.
Understood. Okay.
Yeah.
I would be interested to know what that cost is. It's already over capacity, well, at capacity.
Yeah.
So I wanted to comment on that. I know. So I'll just say this: we have fought so hard to get a linkages person at Twin Brook, and that is not a small feat. I think I had been working on that since 2019. I know staff has worked on it. I know PTAC members are working on it. I mean, there's so many people who have been pushing for this. NAACP, the Parents Council has helped with that as well. So I just want to say that's a huge win. And I'm so excited and just want to say thank you. That was hard to get. I know we don't have a full linkages program there. It's just you're having a part-time person go. But I think that is something that we need to have an eye on and how to work with the county to expand that. I would also say Meadow Hall does not have any of that support. So that's on my list for future goals as well. And I'm sure the entire body would support that, given I know how much people care about supporting students in need. So I just wanted to, as you're looking at expansion, that we need to look at that. Now, what I understand about the Linkages to Learning program is you have to be on the strategic plan. And so we have to make the ask. So we've been focused on Twin Brook. I think we also need to look at, can we get support at Meadow Hall? I mentioned in terms of expanding, in addition to Latino youth development and in terms of the populations we serve, also the at-risk youth, so I won't go too deeply into that, but I just wanted to just say this is fantastic and I appreciate it. Can we move to strategy 6? I think we've covered this in our REAP discussion. Okay, all right, let's move on. Strategy 7, just looking for hands on questions.
Oh, actually.
Councilmember Valeri.
Kind of in line with the bullet of funding to encourage providers to provide scholarships. I will tell you, before my son became of school age, he was taken care of by a wonderful in-home provider, very close to here. And actually, that's how I got started with my advocacy. I had to go to a planning commission and fight for their expansion. So I want to give a shout out to Mr. Wasilick. Let's make it as easy as possible so that moms don't have to show up with their child on their hip asking, please let them expand. But the same provider, I saw her recently within the last year. She had a very interesting idea. She works with each parent in a way that I think some centers don't, so that when a parent lost their job, their only income, she worked with them, I think it was like 1 month, 2 month of no income for herself in order to help this person. And so we were kind of talking, how do we help people? Almost the idea of, and Mr. Waslick will probably laugh at this too, almost like MPDUs, but for childcare spaces. Like there would be a dedicated, like you're saying, like a dedicated slot that we could in some way subsidize, maybe in part or in full, so that, you know, we could spread it out. We wouldn't have to be so concentrated on like a center per se, but that we could make it very easy. And then those providers can say, hey, we have an opening here that, you know, if you qualify, it's a much more reduced. I just think there might be a way to kind of empower people that way as well. And again, I thought it was interesting coming from a childcare provider and their perspective too, which then goes into my, that's another group of people that we should probably talk to, are all the wonderful, predominantly women that are providing in-home childcare, and kind of see like what they think and what would be helpful to them as well.
I wonder if that's an idea to explore in combination with the tax credit.
Mm-hmm.
If they're getting a tax credit, would they consider offering X slots too?
We could look at that.
I like that.
Okay. All right, thank you very much. I think we covered this one, and we're not necessarily getting rid of youth development, but adding to childcare and youth development. Okay. So what is the difference between 8, can you just look at 8 and 9 again? So this is zoning to streamline the approval.
One is home-based, one is a child care center, Mayor.
Okay, all
Yep.
right. All right, so let's go to 8. Does anyone have comments on this, or you okay with this? I would say, like, if you're not okay with this, raise your hand if you have something beyond this. But if you support this, then just raise a thumbs up. Okay. Okay, all right. What is the cost of the special exception, by the way? Sorry. I know in the past, like, I mean, ADUs were like $1,000. It was something so ridiculous. Yeah. So is it a ridiculous amount?
We have tiers of fees for special exception. I can't remember exactly which tier the child care center is in. I think we've lowered them from where they used to be, so they're relatively more affordable, but still it's a significant amount. I think it's at least $500.
Yeah, I think that seems punitive. So I would want to look at that. All right. I'm not seeing any other hands. Let's move on to the next. Strategy 10. I have a question about ADUs and childcare. Can someone use an ADU as childcare?
They would have to meet state requirements for their license.
Is it too small?
I think our code, in terms of a dwelling unit, our code would allow it.
Okay, all right. I would say I do think that parents need some kind of drop-off area, but I'm fully open to expanding. I know that has become a point of contention for parents who need to drop off, finding a place to be able to do that. So as you think about that, just remember parents who use the service as well. Can we go to strategy 11? So this child care tax credit, I remember I asked you all to put this on. Just want to say thank you. This is actually Delegate Julie Polakovich-Carr who came up with this. I wanted to note something. So there may be things to consider about how does this get processed? And I don't know if we've thought all of that through yet. So if Rockville does that, does the county do it? Do we do it? But I think that this deserves a regional conversation. Because the county is going to look at this, is my understanding from President Stewart. And we should talk to them as if the county is going to manage the requests that come in,
could they just let us know if someone is in the city of Rockville? Just finding a way to streamline it so it doesn't create additional processes we have to apply to do different places, or maybe it duplicates the amount of staff time. But I think that might be worth having a conversation with Rockville, Gaithersburg, Tacoma Park, and the county on how can we support this together. Does that sound good? Colleagues, are you good with that? Yes. Okay. I believe they're going to have discussions on this at some point this summer. So we should be reaching out. But I'd say, yes, we should explore this. Okay. I will also just put a plug in. We still have been trying to push on our senior tax credit and low-income tax credit. So if we figure out how to make this work on the child tax credit, we should apply that to the others. And also, the other thing I would want to look at is what's the fiscal note. I know that Ms. Webster would probably want to look at the forecasting on that. Okay, Councilmember Larry.
I was kind of holding on this because I wasn't quite sure what it would fall under, but y'all know I love maps. Looking at the location of programs, there's a city desert north of Woodley Gardens.
King Farm needs?
King
King
Farm.
Farmstead needs a child care center.
Exactly. I mean, and just, as that project comes online, maybe we can explore ways to work with the community up there, because I think that seemed to me to be, unless my colleagues see something different, that seems to me to be the most glaring. I'm looking at areas like third-party providers, that's great and all, but, I think everybody should have access in some way to city provided services. And it just seems to me parks are great, but I think that childcare is probably as much a need in the King Farm community as anywhere else.
I know you guys do great programming at Thomas Farm, which is in the Falls Grove community. So I want to acknowledge that. I have personally participated with my own children in the program, and it is excellent. Rec and Park Programs does an amazing job there. Okay, I think that takes us to the end, right?
A lot of great feedback, Mayor, and just know, you guys will see this during budget, during grants, zoning court update, et cetera, et cetera. Every time we bring one of these back, we'll reference this work session, just we're checking all the boxes as we go. And we heard the requests for additional data, and we'll bring those back with these individual strategies as well. So we appreciate it.
Thank you. I had one help potential for you. We have some Arise interns coming over the summer from MCPS. Maybe they could take that list with the zip codes and help you map out how many spaces and call around, just as a research exercise to help the team.
Yep. If we need help, we'll reach out. Thanks, Mayor.
Yes, thanks. Okay, thank you, team. We really appreciate that focused discussion. We're now moving on to our mock agenda. I'll just note that we discussed moving the Chapter 15 personnel to the next mock agenda. So we do have space. The meeting looks like it could handle it, and look forward to getting confirmation so the public is aware about that meeting. All right. Team, old new business. Okay. Councilman Van Grack, we had a great meeting with the clarinet ensemble from Pinnenberg, and I know you and I talked about potentially doing a thank you note and making sure that we can get them to play again. Do you want to add to that?
So yeah, the clarinet ensemble from Pinneberg, Germany, as we understand it, is not yet allotted to play when the City of Rockville delegation and the Rockville Sister Cities is coming to Pinneberg this September. We're informed that if a very detailed thank you note came from the city with a request that, if possible, the clarinet ensemble was scheduled to play during the 150th anniversary of Pinneberg, which is scheduled for this September, there'd be a good chance of the clarinet ensemble playing. To the extent that's possible, and this mayor and council supports that, it would be something that I know that Councilmember Jackson, the mayor, myself, and the delegation would definitely appreciate.
Thank you. Can we Can we see a thumbs up for whether you support a letter? Excellent. Thank you. Councilmember Valeri.
I know everyone's probably tired of my voice, and I am losing my voice. I think that when we were looking at the green building code tonight, I think that that was a really good example of why this body should have had a discussion around the climate action plan. We have not, as a body in this space, really gone through, had a work session on the climate action plan. Like, what are the things that we agree to advance forward? What are the things that we prioritize? You know, some of us put bits and pieces in other agenda items to say, hey, I really care about native trees, for example. But I think that this is one of the challenges. So I would love, you know, to hear, not in this moment, and of course not without my colleague, Councilmember Fulton, but I think it would be good, because then when these sort of agenda items like around the green building code come forward, then we kind of know as a body, okay, we kind of came agreement here, and that would help us focus as well. So I just wanted to share, that was just a thought I had during that agenda item.
Just to clarify, are you asking that climate action plan, when it comes up again, come as a work session versus a special presentation?
Yes. Yes. So that this body can have the discussion and prioritize. I mean, that's the big thing with any of these plans, right? Climate action plan, Vision Zero. If we get a one-way presentation, we can't actually give staff the feedback en masse, because we can't all meet together, right? Of what we want to prioritize during our term. I mean, we wish we could do everything. I know Madam Mayor wants to put solar on every single building, which I agree with, but it'd be nice to have that conversation as a body so that we all could kind of get on the same page, if possible.
I would say geothermal as well, and other things.
Fair enough, fair enough, fair enough.
Anything that reduces electricity costs. Colleagues, I support this. I do think that we should have an opportunity. This body has not had an opportunity to discuss climate. And I would also add, you know, Vision Zero is not something we've been able to talk through. It's been a presentation, and we just can submit questions. But I just want to see where my colleagues stand. Councilmember Jackson is fine with a work session in the future instead of special presentation. Councilmember Van Grack.
We're just talking about the climate action plan for now.
That's right.
Yeah, for the next time that it comes up, I would support a work session.
Councilman Shaw?
Thumbs up from.
I agree with my
And
colleague.
same with Dr. Miles. I will just note, I believe, I'm just looking at the 6-month planning calendar. I think the next one to come up is Vision Zero on July 14th. So I just wanted to note that is currently listed as a special presentation.
Yeah.
Councilmember Valeri.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not bringing this up specifically, but on these action plans, we inherited both of these. So, you know, unless you were steeped in it from the beginning, which, you know, there's only 2 elected individuals who are around for both of these. I think it would be good as a kind of way for us to learn more about our colleagues and be able to talk as a body about what we want to prioritize. So I would, and I hear what Councilmember Van Grack said, but I would expand it to both Vision Zero and Climate Action Plan, because I think at the end of the day, these all have budgetary impacts, rather.
Councilman Van Grack, do you want to comment on that?
I mean, again, I have no problem having a discussion on some of these issues. I know that we've put forward the special presentations because we've had meetings that go to midnight before. So to the extent we can fit it in a meeting that does not extend ourselves, I would have no problem. But I don't want to take a lot of these presentations that we are saving time by having a presentation without a discussion and go past that.
Thank you. I think it works really, really well for the boards and commissions, for example. So,
yeah.
Councilman Valeri.
And to that point, Councilmember Van Grack, it's really about prioritization too. Like, we have not gone through these action plans with all their various what do we want to, as a body, look to advance? It kind of comes up during the budget, but we do have this foundational document, so we could have the discussion now, so we're not having it in the middle of the budget.
I mean,
Councilmember Van Craft, we'll take the last comment on this. and then
okay,
we'll move on.
but I don't want to make it seem like having these presentations, special presentations, are harming us, because the staff has also put together the ability for us to ask detailed written questions that are also answered in written format. And I don't think having that is precluding us from being able to establish our priorities.
I will just say thank you both for your comments. Just to close the loop I know we talked about special presentation for, well, not doing a special presentation for climate, just to, where do people stand on Vision Zero? Do you want to do a workshop? If you want to do a workshop versus special presentation, given that it doesn't cause a meeting to go to midnight and it's fit into a shorter meeting.
For this next upcoming presentation, yes, I support it.
Okay, all right. Dr. Miles? Okay. You have majority. I have two on the note of climate, and since my colleague has mentioned solar, I just want to get an update on the solar RFP process. And initially, during the budget process, we were supposed to get some solar installed this fall, and now that's not possible given some of the new challenges. So just want to see where we are in that process and whether we can hit our KPIs for FY26. And the other thing I wanted to raise, Mr. Mihalik, are you good with that? Just to give an update to the body on that.
I'm happy to provide an update. I don't need that during old and new business. You guys can just send me an email. I'm happy to send you an update.
Thank you. So we'll just assume that is treated as an email, and if we can get an update. The other thing I just wanted to note is we got an email about water meters, and just wanted to get an update for the body on that as well.
Yep, we'll respond to the email we received.
Thank you. All right. Anything else, everybody? Okay. Do we have a motion to adjourn? Councilmember Shaw.
I move to adjourn.
All right. All those in favor, please raise your hand and say aye.
Aye.
Aye.